the only podcast that will actually work through illness. It's Whacked Out Wrestling. Hello, everybody. This is Whacked Out Wrestling this week, and we have a pretty eventful week of wrestling. The only week of wrestling where they actually told us in advance that it sucks. I'm Thomas S.K. Green. With me, as always, was John Roche, and we have our famous backup on this one in the news Rocky Mountain Pro affiliated Twitch streamer Prince Moxley Lopez.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. And this was honestly one of the weird things on it to start because it was much easier to go with the opening segment of Raw simply because they did all the work for us on one hand. Seth Rollins just showed up and said, yes, Raw sucks. It sucked for a while. Apparently they're going with the Domino's Pizza plan of trying to get people back.
Oh, nice analogy.
Excellent analogy.
Yes. And it's weird because on the one hand they had the cases for it, but some of the stuff that they were using for examples, yeah, you have the obvious things like Brock Lesnar not being on Raw since 2002, or segments with Drake Maverick pissing on people, or stuff like that are all make sense on paper. But then if you look at some of them really don't make sense, even in kayfabe, if you look at that promo.
Well, you think about it, in a way, Seth Rollins is kind of channeling the spirit of the late Sean O'Hare. He's not telling us anything that we don't already know.
Well, of course. But even then, for the best example where it doesn't work in kayfabe, you've got, okay, Seth Rollins complains about how the Revival are being buried in Lucha House Party Rules match. However, think of it this way. Seth Rollins is a babyface. The Lucha House Party are ostensibly babyfaces. The Revival is a heel. And Baron Corbin is not just a heel, but his entire gimmick as a heel, since being Constable Corbin, and really since NXT, it can be boiled down to fuck everything that you personally like. And if you like it, he hates it just to spite you. And that really is a problem on this one, because if you think about those things, Baron Corbin could not possibly be responsible for the Lucha House Party rules problem in kayfabe. How could he be? The Lucha House Party are baby faces, and because they're baby faces, Baron Corbin hates them because he hates all baby faces. The Revival are heels, and so Baron Corbin would want them to win. So there is no way that Baron Corbin would be signing off on, sure, your matches are Lucha House Party rules, you can have a 3-on-2 or 3-on-1 advantage. That just goes against everything Baron Corbin would do, and either you just double-turned both teams, or you're saying that, no, Baron Corbin could not possibly have been responsible for that.
Yeah, it makes no sense kayfabe-wise, like, at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just... And it's a fine line you walk when you admit, hey, our show sucks. Like, there's a fine line there that you're walking.
Yeah, pointing out your problems doesn't really solve them.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it's a step in the right direction, if nothing else.
Yeah.
If you capitalize on it, though, like, hey, to go back to the Domino's thing, and I haven't tried Domino's since that ad campaign came out. But, okay, we've heard your gripes. We know we suck. Hey, but we're improving. I can't tell you if they've improved or not. And this week's was somewhat of an improvement, but it was also a go-home show. Next Monday we'll be telling, like, okay, we're admitting we suck. Let's do better. But if you don't do better and you just admitted you sucked, and that's just a road that's a slippery slope to go down.
Yeah, and that's also the big problem on it when you remember that this episode of Raw had some of the worst ratings ever in Raw history. So that's
It was the worst. It's lower than even holiday episodes. This was the lowest rated Raw of all time.
Yes, and that's really the other problem that you have on these, because you're telling everybody that you suck, then people will accept it.
Oh, thanks for telling us. I'm gonna go watch. Hell, I don't know what else on Mondays. Dancing with the Stars or whatever, The Voice or something like. Okay, well, I'm gonna go watch this.
I guess I guess they figure it's better than getting your hopes up.
Yeah, and that's
True.
really the problem on it, because again, if people acknowledge that they're rejecting it because the show sucks, you have to fix things. And the best way that they fixed it on this one was a week before the TLC pay-per-view, which you're selling on telling people, you watch this, you're going to get to see a pay-per-view match, a TLC match on pay-per-view. They put a TLC match on the show.
Yes.
And that's really the problem that WCW had when they sucked, where hot-shotting a good match is not improving the show.
Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, tune in Sunday. Because TLC matches later, and here's a quote unquote. Here's a preview of what you can see. You don't do that on the go home show of. Oh, that's okay. Well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was sort of a big deal just because they hadn't had a TLC match on Raw since 2002?
Yeah, but even then, it's still a case where you're not supposed to really. And I think they have had TLC matches on Raw. Like, I believe they had Miz versus Lawler in 2011, for example.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I forgot about that. That was when, that was the one where Michael Cole turned heel, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
But it basically is still the case where if you're selling the pay-per-view on TLC matches, it's not a good idea to have a TLC match the night before the show. It's usually just, and even if they haven't had it since 2002, they haven't had a Hell in a Cell match on free TV since 1998. And there's a reason for that. Because it would be fucking stupid to have Hell in a Cell on free TV.
Right.
It diminishes the whole pay-per-view. You're like, oh, I'm getting excited, just strictly it's a TLC match. Well, just saw one on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
You can only do TLC matches so many different ways.
Yeah. And even then, it's still the case where if it's Baron Corbin versus Seth Rollins, that's a match you could get a pay-per-view match out of. You could get another main event out of. And the only way you don't do it is if Strowman's not coming back and there's no way to pay this off. So at least you get to see Baron Corbin get his ass kicked.
Yeah.
Ah, crap. This means that Corbin's going to be the permanent GM, doesn't it?
Well, in defense, there is some spoilers that are being whispered on it for Monday, where rumors are saying Kurt Angle is going to be in the building next Monday for Raw. So
keep
that into account.
I was going to wait to we got to TLC predictions to but I think Kurt will be in San Jose Sunday.
Mm-hmm. So from there, you get this first way they try to fix things with the tag team titles on the line of the P-Pals versus Team Creative Has Nothing Better for You.
Damn, I love your name sometimes.
Yeah. And this was actually a handicap match where you had the Authors of Pain and Drake Maverick defending. Let the record show that Drake Maverick got it to defend a title out of the Cruiserweight division before any other person on the Cruiserweight division got to. So that will come up later tonight, so. And then it still had the case where, on the one hand, you have Rude and Gable had lost 2 weeks ago to them, and Bobby Roode lost last week to earn a title shot. But this time, Chad Gable had his own robe and had tights that were similar to Bobby Roode, and we know that those things make you automatically a tag team.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, you're matching gear to your team.
Yeah. Yeah, like I've said that before as my question with things like the Boston Hug connection. I don't need much to assume that two people are officially a tag team. Just give them a tag team name. Just give them a matching gear. That's all you really need.
Can I just how stupid of it was, I guess, on all their parts for let's just leave it to the authors of pain without Drake and kayfabe. How stupid was it to accept a 3-on-2 handicap match for the titles? Like if it was just the authors of pain, 2-on-2 normal tag. Like how dumb was that in kayfabe? Like, hey, let's put this guy that when he's standing ringside, you can barely see his hair. Let's add him. He's not going to be a liability at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's really the question. It's almost like the early beginnings of Earthbound, where you have authors of pain hitting you with a baseball bat. Akam hits you. Razor hits you. Drake Maverick pees his pants.
That was just right. That's where like a man advantage is not an advantage; it's weakness.
Yes, and this actually did have the same problem where Maverick tried to get the pin after the authors of pain beat them down, but he ended up getting rolled up to give Bobby Roode the pin and the titles, aka Chad Gable as a champion at the end of 2018 on Raw. You're welcome, Smarks.
Joined a illustrious club with his former partner Jason Jordan as the only people to win the NXT, SmackDown, and Raw Tag Team Champion.
Mm-hmm. But meanwhile, Bobby Roode has entered an even more illustrious crowd of people who have been champions with at least 2 or 3 partners. Eric Young did hold the tag titles with him in Team Canada, right? I didn't just dream those things or so. I know Team Canada must have held the tag titles once or twice, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was tag team champs as part of Beer Money.
Yeah. Yeah, but everyone knew about Beer Money. It's just the question of, has he entered the Billy Gunn Club of 3 different times?
I think he and EY, Eric Young, I think they Google don't fail me now.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they did. I'm thinking like even more than once, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's one of the weaknesses with Team Canada, where everyone was so interchangeable on this one, where it was basically interchangeable Bobby Roode, interchangeable Eric Young, who's kind of afraid of things, interchangeable Johnny Devine, interchangeable A1, pretty move with P.D. Williams that ends up really failing when you try the fridge logic test, and then he becomes interchangeable. All managed by interchangeable Scott D'Amore.
Oh, well, it wasn't EY. Bobby Roode won it with P.D. Williams.
That made more sense, but even then, still.
He's a 4-time because he won it with Eric Young too.
Yeah. So
so he's with Eric Young, P.D. Williams. Okay, so he's.
Yep. And that's really the thing on it, because it goes with the Billy Gunn test, where people always maligned Billy Gunn for being so terrible, and then you realize, wait a second, he was in 3 great tag teams. He is undeniably one of the best tag team wrestlers in history.
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing. Tag team.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, of course, but it's still something. So, like, even if you're not great,
I wasn't downplaying the tag team. I was Bobby Roode single competition just doesn't it's not the same as Bobby Roode playing off his partner and a partner playing off of Bobby Roode. There's two different, like, almost characters there.
And that's probably the one weakness with this team right now in it, where the big reason it works is that Chad Gable is good at reacting off people and playing off of kind of straight man types, because that was basically what made American Alpha work. And as a babyface, Bobby Roode is kind of bland and generic, but we know
kind of my ass. He is bland and generic.
Hey, he has a theme song. Do you have a theme song?
I do.
Okay, then. Well, do you have a flag?
Do I have what now?
A flag? No flag, no country.
Well played. Well played.
Yes.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm. But that does work on this one, because now at least Gable can play off of Roode, and it works. It may be a team in it for the long haul, but you can at least imagine that even if the team does break up, you'll have Chad Gable going after Roode and saying, "Can I borrow the theme song? I really have this match. I just need to borrow it for this one."
And it couldn't be much worse than "Can I Borrow a Feeling?"
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I could buy that as this Chad Gable theme song as well. And then from there, you go to Natalya cutting a promo about Ruby Riott, putting her through such an issue of breaking her sunglasses. This is already becoming a very big issue, because this ties into such great storylines as "You spilled my diet soda," "You spilled coffee on me," and other great overarching storylines about the future of the WWE.
Hey, don't forget her Uncle Brett's angle with his jacket.
Yeah, well, that one you've got to give that credit. I mean, it's Bret Hart fighting a Ring of Honor wrestler. How can that be bad? But yes, it was still the case where it just went to, so Natalya dedicates her match on Sunday to Jim Neidhart and do everything to put Ruby Riott through a table. And then you have Ruby saying that she needed a therapist for it, and that she made a table with a picture of Jim Neidhart on it. You may remember this as the exact same angle that happened last time Natalya was in a tables match at TLC.
No, they would never rehash something.
Well, it's also the problem of just how big a veteran Natalya is, and it's basically the weakness that you can't do much with Natalya for how long she's in. Even if WWE did rehash this angle, let the record show it still passes the 7-year rule.
True.
Mm-hmm. So that just represents the issues where Natalya's good, she's very good, but meh. And there's not much you can do with it, because just Natalya. Not much else there.
For one, the segment went on a little too long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's also the weakness, because Natalya's just not that good a promo. She's
a bad promo.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and say it. She's a bad promo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can tell why is the show sucking that much, and that might be a good reason. You're giving 10 minutes to Natalya to talk.
It's not the worst noise we've ever heard from Natalya.
Mm-hmm. Well, probably, but at least everybody makes that noise. That's just a normal part of life.
That is true.
Mm-hmm. And then, there's probably people who pay very much money to spend to hear Natalya do.
Whoa!
We're getting a bit ahead of ourselves here.
Yes.
And I kind of found it amusing's not the right word, but I guess we live in that day and time of people were offended on social media about using Jim Neidhart on the table.
Yeah.
A sticker of Jim Neidhart, and they were, how disrespectful this, and dude, like,
I mean, I know that a few years ago they had that thing with Paul Bearer's ashes in the feud between CM Punk and The Undertaker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but there's also the case where it's weird because even if they're being disrespectful by using Jim Neidhart in these storylines, at the same time, this is the first time that Jim Neidhart has come up on WWE television since he left in 1998. This is the first time they're willing to admit, yes, Natalya is the daughter of Jim the Anvil Neidhart, a great tag team wrestler and one of the unsung legends of the company, and not Natalya.
She's not just
a
Bret niece.
Yeah. So it does have a purpose that they're telling people that, yes, Jim Neidhart is worth you getting offended over them using Jim Neidhart in, because he deserved that. And then
I just yeah, it's cheap heat. It's an easy way to try to get some traction going into TLC. But I just don't get some of the things I've seen online of, for one, Natalya either had to approve of this, or it might have been her own idea because of what happened at her last TLC.
Yeah.
Like, hey, why don't we go this route?
Mm-hmm.
That is an interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah. Plus, it is still the case where, again, it just teaches people about Jim Neidhart, and that's something that also has some value too. And if people are getting offended by this, people were equally offended by the fact that they didn't get to see Naomi and Mandy Rose have a match. So,
believe it or not, that latter one was probably a little more outspoken on social media.
Yes.
Now, honestly, in a way, like, I mean, I obviously can understand how it would be offended, but at the same time, this is the heel who did this. This is like the heel was the one who put the picture of Jim Neidhart on the table. They're basically getting mad at a heel doing a heel thing.
But how can you be a heel and do these heel things in current year?
Fair point.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that's really the big thing, because even then, you've got to realize there's no way that table is going to be broken in the match. So that's also the point.
Tried and true lesson there.
Mm-hmm.
In Natalya in a table match, like shit, there might not be any tables broken.
Yeah.
Try and try again.
Mm-hmm. So then you go to pretty much the most normal one, and it was Drew McIntyre gets his win back, which is pretty much straightforward because it was Drew McIntyre gets his win back. It's about as completely straightforward as the famous movie Roseanne Gets Naked.
Wow, you went to the back of the drawer on that one.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But you don't really expect much more on it. It was basically, okay, McIntyre lost last week. Let's give him his win back while we can still keep some momentum there. Because no one wants to see Dolph babyface.
Nobody wants to. I'll fix that for you. Nobody wants to see Dolph Ziggler.
Well, I don't know. I think that there are possible ways to use Dolph Ziggler. I mean, he does have his great stand-up comedy career.
He sounds like a maniac.
Yeah. He's a mega DEA fan, so he has the pluses there for the metal kids. But yeah, that was one of the problems where if Dolph Ziggler is becoming a top babyface. It's just the weakness where, at least as a heel, Ziggler worked because the whole point of this is that we don't want to see Dolph Ziggler, and by having to see Dolph Ziggler, we hate him. If we have to like Dolph Ziggler on this one, he went from, okay, he's very valuable as a top heel and he could be a top star, to instantly losing all of his value over Mike Bennett in one move.
Damn. Damn.
What if it had been what if it had been Drew McIntyre who had turned face? Like, would that? I'm honestly questioning. This is an honest question. This is not rhetorical. Would that have been better in that case? Like, do you think that would have been a better way to do it if they had to turn one of them face?
No.
If you had to turn one of them face, it's kind of weird because Drew McIntyre has proved he can be a very good babyface on the independent scene, but he also proved kind of that when he's a babyface on the independent scene or in NXT, he's a babyface because, man, guys, isn't independent wrestling or isn't NXT so awesome? That's not really something you can see as a good babyface on the main roster.
That is true, especially this main roster.
Yeah.
And as much as I griped about his debut and hooking him up with Dolph, because Dolph is just heat killer, like automatically. And going back to your point a minute or two ago, SK. Okay, here's Dolph Ziggler, blah blah. Hey, but if we want to see Drew McIntyre, we have to watch this Dolph segment.
Yeah, and even then, you still had the benefit where McIntyre and Ziggler did have a pretty good chemistry together on it. Where
they did.
Something to be said for, even if Ziggler sucks, the guy is a great seller, and so you just have Ziggler gets his ass kicked, McIntyre destroys people.
Yeah,
it's perfectly watchable.
And Ziggler doesn't necessarily suck per se, like in ring. It's just he let me try getting. Sorry, I'm on a lot of meds. Let me try getting an analogy. He's like the woman in a bar you meet, and that gorgeous looking, 3 divorces, 4 kids. Like the package is there, but there's baggage, and either you accept that baggage or you don't.
Well, a better analogy I'd just say is the simplest one going from this show so far. Dolph Ziggler is the male Natalya. They're both very good. We recognize they're very good, but we've seen everything we could possibly see from them. There's just no surprises there.
Dolph actually cut 2 good promos in his career.
Yeah, but even then, it's pretty much the same. Where we already read the book on them. You're not going to show us anything new from these ones.
You're not rewriting history.
Yeah, and what they are is pretty good, but it's not good enough right now for where they are on the card. And then we go from these ones to the first part of the sickness all week as Bayley faces Alicia Fox for Mixed Match Challenge, and we find out that since Finn Balor is sick, Apollo Crews takes his place in the Mixed Match Challenge. And meanwhile, Jinder Mahal and the Singh brothers are there to keep going, as we see that later on in this one for the TLC finals, Jinder and Alicia would make the finals, which, by an astonishing coincidence, is one of only a few teams that actually stayed intact throughout.
Yes.
And then
who has sirens going on in the background?
Probably the hood around here. So,
duck, motherfucker, duck.
Yes. But this was basically just straightforward for Mixed Match Challenge and just going on it. You have Bayley fight Alicia, announce that Apollo Crews is Bayley's teammate now because they had absolutely no one left for it. So Once you've used Kurt Hawkins as a teammate, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Sorry, Kurt. We tried to build you up earlier in the show, and we just. Yeah. Oh no, it was Mike Bennett that we.
Well, it's less that Mike Bennett is in those ones. It's just that I consider value over Mike Bennett as a viable thing. Mike Bennett is replacement level in this pro sport. If you are better than Mike Bennett, yes, you deserve to be on a national scale. If you're worse than Mike Bennett, you don't deserve to be on any national promotion. Don't go to WWE, don't go to Impact, don't go to Lucha Underground, don't go to MLW. Just stay on the small time stuff. He's a good line. Mike Bennett is as good as you have to be to deserve to be in national wrestling. And that's a positive thing as well. The worst good that you can be is always positive.
Yeah, it gives you something to aspire to.
Yes. Well, we already had that. If Mike Bennett managed to put a ring on Maria Kanellis, so besides those things,
right?
Like he's already won at life.
Yeah. Though at the same time, I will say that as all the things on this one, Mike may not have won at life because even then, remember, you've seen his wife naked. He hasn't seen your wife naked. Who really won?
You don't know my personal life, sir.
Mm-hmm. But well, at least there's still the benefit of them.
Yeah, benefit of the doubt. I'll give you that.
Yeah. And then we go to Dean Ambrose who's having a promo about Seth Rollins and continuing his storyline that if he's still Intercontinental Champion tonight, Dean will take the title on Sunday. Keyword: Rollins is totally winning tonight. And then you have Roman and just finally saying at least who cares, which completely goes past we're not bringing up that Dean Ambrose thinks that Roman Reigns deserves to die for what he did in kayfabe anymore, but still not good at all.
Yeah, that's not really that's probably the worst way they've gone with that kind of real life stuff since the Randy Orton Eddie's in Hell promo.
Yeah, and it was worse there because at least Eddie was dead on it, and even in retrospect that we knew that Chavo Guerrero was approached, but he said, no, I want no part of this storyline. And then they went to Ray and he said, sure, I'll do it to be the world champion. There was still the problem there. Even then, it was still the case that Eddie's dead. He's not really going to care how he's used or not. So it's still a question. Roman Reigns is still alive.
Yeah.
And everyone's hoping he's going to get better. It's not like he's going to get like we're all expecting he's going to pull through this, and everybody wants him to pull through it.
Right.
Having him do it, the guy's still alive. So why are you doing this? And
even if it's a heel doing it, that's the line. That's like way too far there, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Even if Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns are very good friends, and you know that Roman probably gave Ambrose's blessing to do it, that's still a case. That's something you just don't do, even if they say, "Sure, you can do this."
Yeah,
that's where you say. Even if Roman came to Dean and said, "Hey, I'm cool with it," or like, let's just like go way out on a limb, and Roman suggested it.
Yeah.
Or Vince, or, whoever is. There comes a time when you're like, you have to, and this is actually a Dean Ambrose meme. Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know that I said with Ruby Riott, with the thing with Jim Neidhart on the table, she is a heel. She is doing a heel thing. Why are you getting mad at a heel doing a heel thing? But like you said, Jim Neidhart is unfortunately no longer with us, and it's likely that that Natalia would, or I would hope that she gave her okay with this. I'd be surprised if she didn't. But like saying that sort of thing about someone who, as you said, is still alive and who we're all hoping manages to pull through this.
Yes.
Like, that's over the line, you know?
Yeah.
Yes. And not to sound too morbid, there is a difference between deceased and somebody going through a life-threatening illness.
Yeah.
Huge difference in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah, and it's even worse because even if you go into kayfabe on it, with the way that Seth Rollins betrayed the Shield, there was still a case that one day they might be able to patch things up and be a family again. With what Ambrose is doing with Roman, in kayfabe, there is no fucking way Roman Reigns should ever want to team with Dean Ambrose again if he's saying this stuff.
Right.
This is just a dude. You said I deserved to die for this shit.
Yeah.
Fuck you forever.
Answer to your maker.
Yeah.
Well, he's got to answer to his maker.
Yeah.
And it's one thing in kayfabe or for a cheap way of getting heat to talk about the dead. It's another to talking about the living that literally just 2 months ago let us all in on what he's going through and what he's about to go through, what he's currently going through, and using that as a heel technique, a heel prop, and that's just no, that's sickening, to be honest with you.
Yeah. That again, that's just the type of thing that any sane person would say, I want nothing to do with you ever again after this shit. You've lost any right to call yourself a friend of mine on it. And in kayfabe, the Roman Reigns character should say that about Dean Ambrose of that. That's his, you shit on my house, man. You shit on my house. But even then, there's still a case where there's positives where you can say that anyone can be forgiven even after those ones. Look at Elias right after that one. Just 2 months ago, we had Seattle Heat, which was just glorious and depressing that even that constituted something this glorious. And then you get Elias saying, yeah, Lashley totally thinks all San Diego sports teams should move to Los Angeles and gets cheered for it. So anyone can be forgiven eventually for their sins.
Yeah.
Except possibly in Seattle.
And kayfabe, if they do it right, and it will take time to heal, and I'm in the middle of doing a follow-up of my previous post, I'm looking at it as okay, you shouldn't have said that. Like that's a given. But okay, this has been said. Dean's hurting, and Dean is lashing out.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's saying things he doesn't really mean. He doesn't know how to deal with his true emotions, and so he's just it's still crossing a line, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But when Roman comes back, because he's coming back, we believe in you, Roman.
Mm-hmm.
When he comes back, if they ever do reconcile, it's not hard to write the reconciliation of, man, I was in a bad place. I wasn't really trusting Seth, and then your news broke, and I didn't know what to do with myself, and I do care. Like it's really nuts. I didn't want to be again, so I just.
Yeah, I could see that they could pay that one off with them of, I didn't know what was going on. I know.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to lose you. I know.
Yeah.
Always, I want to be with you.
Oh, good grief.
Well, that's what all the fan fiction tells me would happen there.
Like, dude, I was so numb inside, I couldn't even tell you what I was
Robot
saying.
unicorns are more of a New Day thing.
Yes. But then it just goes to the same problem where even then I'm still not sure on that one, because even with those reasons for Dean Ambrose's turn, it just goes back to that moment the week before things changed on it, where they had that segment where Rollins and Reigns were just joking, oh yeah, he's on Ambrose time and things like that. And Ambrose blew off the handle and said, what? Because I'm crazy? Because I'm psycho? And things like that on it. And you knew just from that segment, Ambrose is already turned in his heart. He was just waiting for it. He was in that moment where everyone has dealt with someone who's a little bit loony, a little bit crazy, where there's that one moment in time where you know that in their heart they've changed anything from just simple inside jokes to they're all making fun of you, and they always have been. And once that happens, they've already turned on you in their heart. They already decided that anything you do is wrong, and that was what that was showing. And that you knew Dean Ambrose had already turned heel on him. He was just waiting for the right time.
Right, but now you've completely switched. Not you per se, but them. Like old Yankee Stadium, new Yankee Stadium, two different ballparks. Like, yes, he was going to turn.
Yes, and even if they are two different ballparks, it also works for them, because just like the Yankees, Roman sucks. So
you hush your mouth, sir.
Well, I mean it with love in these cases, except for the Yankees, because the Yankees suck. But then you go to Heath Slater's refereeing debut of Lio Rush versus Elias, and we actually get to see some actual cruiserweights fighting the heavyweights. Hell, we actually get to see a cruiserweight beat a heavyweight.
When was the last time that happened?
Probably before the cruiserweight division started.
Seth? No, Pac versus Seth. Neville versus Seth.
Yeah, but Neville was still kind of seen as like a heavyweight at that time. Once Neville joined this cruiserweight division and became the king of the cruiserweights, he didn't really beat any of the heavyweights. So
no, he didn't beat him, but wasn't he on like right when 205 Live started? He entered Seth's challenge.
I don't really remember off the top of my head. So yeah, I know Neville's answered Seth's challenges before, but I don't know if he answered that one.
Or was it Jericho?
Yeah, it might have been Jericho.
Yeah, when he broke his ankle doing that baseball slide between the legs.
Yeah, but it is interesting.
It's been a while, especially since we don't have purple ropes Mondays anymore. I don't think once they like completely ex-nayed the cruiserweights on Raw, I think this was the first. Well, main roster versus 205 Live.
Well, it's going to come up later in the show as well, because I think they completely nixed that 205 Live is its own brand. There's Raw people, there's SmackDown people, there's cruiserweights. They all get along together on 205. So, and then after this one, you had what I think was one of the most intriguing things of the show on it, where they change it so that they put one big segment on it where you have the opening segment, the tag title change. The Ruby Riott reveals the Jim Neidhart table and Drew McIntyre injuring Dolph Ziggler, and then getting right up to continuing Slater doing a good job in the match with Rush versus Elias. So pretty much it's one segment, and they bring you up to speed for the rest of the show. And that's what you should probably want in these ones. Probably the biggest problem with Raw that we've had is that they have too many of these retarded goldfish with some recaps where, here's a recap of what just happened. Here's a recap of the recap of what just happened. Here's a recap of that recap. and just keep going with it, and you're just wasting too much time. Just have one segment at around 10 o'clock, right after all the prime time shows are on, and say, okay, let's bring you up to speed. Mm-hmm. And that's how you should be doing it. Like when they had NXT and they said previously on NXT is the jokes, that worked. Just give us one segment to recap everything, bring everyone who hasn't been watching up to speed, and go from there. Any thoughts on that?
I could see that working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
anyway,
then
next we have, after all that, we have Alexa Bliss sort of directing traffic during a promo segment with Nia Jax having some words for Ronda Rousey.
Yep. And honestly, this actually helped things as well because they found a way to make it work for the open forum stuff that at least it was reasonable this time. It wasn't just, this is terrible and this went through. There might be some potential for it at least.
Right. Well, they've already established that Raw is terrible. Like, they established that at the opening segment. They actually have to do something of substance here.
Yeah. But it was one where I'll give them some benefits where everyone was saying, yeah, this is going to be terrible. It's going to be terrible. Please, someone just ask Sinbad from the forums questions so we can end these segments. And it was perfectly fine, acceptable. And that might be because of the illness again, where Alexa Bliss was too sick to actually do anything more than just, okay, I'm stepping aside, you two talk. And that worked perfectly fine as well. And heck, it even did work for this one since Nia Jax made all the problems for these ones work because it basically said, finally, look, I have a right hand. I broke Becky Lynch's face with one punch, and Ronda Rousey can't take a punch. So they finally used the fact that Rousey has a glass jaw to its advantage.
Then it brings us into, and Ronda actually comes out and decides that she's spoiling for a fight, but then Tamina and Jax are about to attack, but Ember Moon comes out, which brings us into the next match.
No, this is a Tamina match, so that dead air before us announcing it was more entertaining than this match.
Okay.
Yeah. Even if Ember Moon is very good, again, it's Tamina. It's the lowest possible that it goes past value over Mike Bennett and goes into.
I was about to ask, where does Tamina fall on the Mike Bennett scale?
Well, the problem is that Tamina the women's division in NXT is always like, you can't really skew it there because we know that the NXT women are very good, so it would be like having a really good AAA team and a mediocre player on the major league team. So you can't really say that you'd be better off with a replacement level player because the replacement level players you could get are pretty good. But even then, Tamina's fallen past low value over Mike Bennett. She's fallen past. You'd be better off with one of the women in NXT. And you've gotten into you'd be better off with nothing at all than Tamina. She is worse than nothing. She has no value whatsoever. And even if they just fired her and they just went with one less woman, it would still be a better women's division because you don't have Tamina in it. That's how low she is on the value over Mike Bennett scale.
That's pretty low.
Yeah, it's not even just that she'd have that low value if she was in WWE, but also if she was in Impact, I wouldn't see her as having that value. If she went to Shimmer, she might not have that value. If maybe she'd have some value if it was in one of the smaller women's promotions, or just former WWE star Tamina at the random shindy down the hall fighting the Booker's girlfriend or something like that. Maybe then it would have positive value. But other than that, not so much.
I'm picturing Virgil, former WWE superstar, all by himself at the table.
I don't know, because even Virgil had some positive value, because you could.
Yeah, I'm just like, Virgil as nobody cares. Like the Virgil meme, like nobody cares.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's just sitting there, big sign, former WWF superstar Virgil.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody in line, nobody around, just the poor Virgil.
Yeah. Honestly, that's a shame on it. A valuable wrestler, a valuable low carder, and apparently someone who can get a job just by unrolling it onto this table in front of the bookers, which I believe is also how James Ellsworth got his job. And then you have the TLC rundown, you have the Lars Sullivan video, and you have all the things that would go through on Raw, except for Dynamite Kid or Larry Hennig being announced as a rest in peace. But then
we kind of saw that coming, right? Larry, I thought maybe there'd be some mention. Dynamite Kid, I didn't figure there would be a mention. Larry, I thought might, but then if you do Larry, why aren't you doing Dynamite?
Yeah, but it's also weird because on the one hand you have Curtis Axel, who's part of the family, on the show as well. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and it could have worked with Drake Maverick stealing one of Larry Hennig's old axes and breaking that. So yeah. He did use axes and wasn't just called the Axe, right? And just have him steal one of the pieces of chewing gum that Kurt Hennig chewed and swatted out. So, same thing. And then you have the Intercontinental title of Seth Rollins versus Baron Corbin. And then you have, well, it's a good match in itself. So, had a pretty good ending. And then you just have Slater turn heel during the match. Doesn't even stop Rollins. He still beats Corbin. And even then, it just was what it was. And even
he's got kids.
Yeah, and that actually does make Slater's heel turn work there's always a place for a sympathetic heel who, I really don't want to do this, but I have to.
Job security.
Yeah. And that's perfectly, and it depends. If it's a guy like Heath Slater who does it, that's better than, say, a guy like Big Show with his ironclad contract. But it's no different than guys like Great Khali had to do evil for Jinder Mahal, but he had to because if he didn't, then Mahal would leave his sister.
Why are you reminding me of Great Khali trying to climb that damn Punjabi prison? Why? You're an evil man, SK.
Well, then you have the most classic angle of this one where Norman the Lunatic didn't really want to do evil, but he had to because Theodore Long had the key that could send him back to the insane asylum. Things like that. There's always a place for a heel who doesn't want to do evil, would gladly turn, but they just can't do it for some reason. And Heath Slater's pretty good in that role.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a meme going around like, hey, if you see me stripping on the stripping pole right now, don't eyeball me. It's, Christmas time's coming up. And that's basically what Heath is doing. Like, man, Christmas is coming up. I got to do what I got to do.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but I don't think the angle where Heath Slater's on the strippers pole would work for this one. So,
Well, no, I'm saying
I mean,
he
isn't he skinnier than the pole?
I
probably
yeah.
depends on what stripper club you're going to. But
Well,
like, hey, this time of year you got kids, you do what you got to do.
yeah. Plus, this Heath Slater is in kayfabe, living in a trailer park, and that's pretty much catnip for future strippers. So,
Oh
I mean,
wow.
if he really wanted to get the money, he could hang out with Drew McIntyre, see about doing a comeback tour with 3MB.
I think it could work, but I think that Jinder Mahal's gotten really, really into Eastern mysticism, much like the Beatles did, and that
Yes.
go through. So,
I opened a can of worms here. I didn't intend to open.
no
Does that
problem.
make so?
That's what this show's about.
In this or the Ringo?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Jinder was the fun one, so you have that one there. Drew McIntyre had the indie career, so he would probably be more of the George Harrison, but I don't see Slater as either John or Paul. So
Ringo, it is then.
yep. No, I think Hornswoggle would be the Ringo. You never heard from him after the breakup, so
fair point.
Mm-hmm. But that was basically Raw, and it's basically the problem is that they made it clear that in kayfabe, everything about why Raw sucks is Baron Corbin's fault, and that doesn't work because it just says that this is going past. If you got a new GM, the show would be better into. Then why is Baron Corbin all over the show if that's the case?
Hell if I know.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be right back. I'm sorry.
No problem. But this seems like a good time for Song of the Week, but unfortunately Joey isn't here, so it's kind of hard to think of good songs that would go for this season.
And if I had my thing set up so that I listen through headphones, so it probably wouldn't work very well for me. But I was probably just gonna play Plastic Love.
Okay, that sounds like a good one. Let me just get on there and I'll get through it. And if you take it out the headphones, that goes through for it. So
yeah, but then I live in an apartment, and
yeah,
that's the main thing. Like I sort of don't want to.
Yeah.
The neighbors.
Yep. So let me search on this one as well. I hope this is the one that goes through, so.
Yep.
Okay.
Takes a while for the lyrics to get going though, so just
yeah.
Don't hurry. I'm sorry.
They found the longest show in the longest song in the history of songs.
Yeah, there are much longer ones.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it's not like Stairway to Heaven or something.
Well, at least it does work because it gives people time to go to the bathroom, go to get the rest of their tea, those things.
Yeah, it's kind of like a dark match at a WWE event.
Dark matches in a WWE event are usually pretty good.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Smoke crack and worship Satan. Just trying to add this hymn crack so it's good.
Yeah, it pretty much just goes on like this for like the last few minutes of it. So
Yeah.
Every time you think it ends, it comes right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not even like one of those songs that has sort of a false finish. It's just like the same finish over and over again, but just kind of stops more than just ends. Like it basically fades out at the end, you know?
Yeah. Like finally, the controller like got tired of hitting the repeat button. Like even he fell asleep. Like okay, fade. Yeah, sorry about that. You guys are East Coast, so it was midnight. Your time an hour ago. I'm Central Time. It was midnight my time when I went on mute, and my wife and son had to wake up and tell me happy birthday. So
Oh, okay.
Happy
Well,
birthday.
happy birthday.
Yep. And that was the birthday song on this one, Maria Takeuchi.
no, please
Of a classic of city
do
pop,
not
which
attach
is
that song to my birthday,
or yacht rock.
sir. I will not allow you attaching that song to my birthday,
Or you to doubt the power of yacht rock.
sir.
Okay, then they'll have to go with a different one in that case.
No, please don't. Please don't. That was brutal enough. Like I will accept that punishment. Don't punish me anymore.
We didn't know when you were coming back. I just like
Yeah, that's weakness.
I gotta take the blame for this one. I was just like, hell, I don't know what song, fucking Plastic Love.
Yeah,
It had nothing. I had no idea it was your birthday. I was just like,
you don't care about me, John. You don't care.
Yeah, that's he'll usually be in charge of the song of the week because he usually gets some good metal that you'd probably like. So
nice. This is a big birthday. Yeah. Yeah.
Which one?
Ugh, don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So, are we done with Raw? Are we going to SmackDown?
SmackDown, and we have Daniel Bryan going for opening up with a promo and continuing his change into Chris Jericho circa 2008, which actually works as well on this one because it really does help these things. Like I had said, the biggest problem with Daniel Bryan's turn wasn't that he turned heel, but he turned heel and I don't care. And now it's showing that the fact that I didn't care is why he's a good heel for it. And so he keeps going to help on this one, keeps changing this one. And surprisingly, we get Mustafa Ali showing up. And they actually try and have Bryan put over who might be the best babyface in the company right now. So,
excuse me.
So at least they're prepping things as well. And of course, this goes to Mustafa Ali getting issues from the same thing that had worked with it by saying xenophobic fans and wouldn't give Ali a fair chance, which is pretty good because that's the reason Ali's such a good babyface. He's Muhammad Hassan. If they went into the skin and said, okay, we'll let you be a babyface after those promos in 2005 to debut you. And then
what sucked about this was they announced it on Twitter beforehand.
Yeah, because this would have been a good one if they just did it by shock and people said, oh shit, they're finally letting the top 205 Live guys work on the main shows. And it does help things because even on social media, there were basic cases that all the 205 Live workers were rooting for him, which added to it.
Oh, yeah. And he's clearly doing a lot better on this show than the GM of 205 Live.
Well, yes, Buttons, but just give it a little bit of time before they ruin him too. It's WWE; they always ruin people. So,
But this been a perfect time to cocky vegan, better than thou Daniel to come on, anybody, and fucking Mustafa Ali answered the challenge instead of announcing it on Twitter, like, hey, and they even used the damn dream match tagline. A dream match, first time ever.
Yeah. Well,
So
it's like when they tried to redo the NWO angle in 2002. Like they basically just like they did everything pretty much the opposite of how the NWO angle originally was, where it was like Scott Hall seemingly out of nowhere, and then like sort of they bring in Kevin Nash, sort of a slow burn. They hint that there's a third guy in there. They say that their third guy's there at Bash at the Beach, but here they just basically, yeah, I'm bringing out the NWO. I'm Vince McMahon, damn it.
yeah, and it just takes away that part of it, and they're based on personal opinion. Does it take a what part of it? How much of a part of it does it take away? But yeah, the Scott Hall, you know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here.
Mhm.
Like that, like okay, like let's keep tuning in next week. But to announce it on Twitter, we're getting, yeah, I know there's still a lot of casuals out there. I know a bunch myself that don't follow, don't even have a Twitter account, don't do social media, don't, they're not quote unquote smarks. Like I personally, I know just off the top of my head, probably 10, but they watch wrestling.
yeah.
But
even then,
there's also a bigger, the discrepancy of the internet quote unquote smarks and the casuals that will tune in and would like to be surprised. Well, first of all, like the casuals that don't like watch 205 Live and stuff, they wouldn't even know who Mustafa Ali is.
even worse than that, there'd be the non-zero chance they think, oh, Mustafa Ali, Muslim guy, make him a terrorist. And that would go against what makes Ali so awesome.
Yes.
Right.
But it's just and all of a sudden I know word good all of a second all of a sudden like but like surely there's a way to play to both crowds without actually announcing it to those of us that follow online and those that just tune in. Like if nothing else, like yes, you're probably right on some of the Middle Eastern terrorists. Like there's gonna be those people out there, unfortunately. But put on a great match, like what was his name again? Mustafa Ali. Like it would resonate more.
Yeah. And honestly, even if you're doing that, you could have just done it where you could do the best of both worlds. Like for a year now or more, we've had every time someone was saying, okay, U.S. title open challenge, U.S. title open challenge, I'm going to make an open challenge on this one. For a year, every time you've had everybody on 205 Live saying, open challenge, huh? Does that mean anyone on this one? And people have expected that, okay, it's an open challenge, but we're not going to see. We know the 205 Live guys would love to do it, and it would be great, but they're never going to do that. And if you did that and kept everyone expecting it, and then suddenly Ali shows up, it's like, oh shit, they actually are doing that.
Yeah, it expands it. Like Kevin Owens entering John Cena.
Yeah, you knew that. And even then,
like, oh shit, we're talking like open. We're not just like, okay, like whoever's available in the back, like, oh shit. Like, okay, this is for real. Like, this is anybody.
Yeah. And even with that, when 2 weeks before, when Sami Zayn had his open challenge, we knew that NXT guys could do it well, but it was still, oh shit, they actually called up Owens. And it worked so much better.
And I guess what the reason why I pinpoint Owens is how that segment went, and him not actually answering the challenge, him just calling out Cena, beating Cena's ass and leaving.
Yeah.
Like that. That's yeah. Sammy did answer it previously, but the Kevin thing was like, oh, this is open, like we're. Plus, he came out for the first time ever on main roster programming an NXT championship in tow.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, we're blurring the lines here.
Yeah. And that would actually help on these ones, because you'd have stuff like, even if it wasn't, it's clear that the big three on 205 this year of Cedric Alexander, Buddy Murphy, and Mustafa Ali absolutely have deserved their close-up. Like, the fact that Buddy Murphy hasn't even been on Raw or SmackDown this year is just disgusting. That's just get the guy on just so you give him some face time and let people see it.
And in fact, one of the people and his kids, which happens to be my brother-in-law and my nieces and nephews, saw the Mustafa Ali. Never watched 205 Live. They have the network. They only watch, and they don't watch every pay-per-view. They have to ask me or ask my wife or text or whatever. Like, hey, when's the next pay-per-view? They watch Raw. They watch SmackDown, but they ask us, and they don't even like religiously watch Raw, SmackDown. Like, if they miss it, they miss it. Like, hey, what's the next pay-per-view? When is it? And even they like, who's this Mustafa Ali guy?
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty good in the ring. And hey, check him out Wednesdays, 205 Live.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's that segment of, I have the network. It's only $9.99 a month, model hole.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so you might have just got a new viewer for 205 Live, just in my personal little circle I have.
Yeah. And that's really the thing on it, because all year 205 Live's been putting on a great show, but at the same time, if you're not saying that, okay, look, let's see what these guys are doing and give them some rewards on the main roster, no one's going to pay attention. I mean,
Right.
If you're hearing just before this, if you heard that 205 Live is so great, what would you say? Well, 205 Live has been great ever since they got this new GM. Oh, really? The GM must have really switched things over. Who is he? The guy who
He pissed his pants.
Well, oh shit! But they've gotten great free agents on it. Like, they got this guy from the indie scene who's amazing. He's a great high flyer. He's the man of the hour there. He's awesome. You have to see him. Oh, that sounds cool. Who is he? He's Bobby Lashley's annoying hype man.
Yeah.
And eventually it just says that, no, this doesn't look good, but by what we've seen on the Cruiserweight show versus the main roster. But even then, it was a case where, yeah, Daniel Bryan won, but it didn't matter, because just facing Daniel Bryan made Mustafa Ali a bigger star than he was before. So
Right.
that's a good plus. That's what you'd want from an open challenge like this.
Right, and that isn't that the objective of, like, winning. Like, okay, just like in my little, again, small circle, like, okay, who's this guy? Where can I see him? You know, like, isn't that the overall goal of, like, and they remember the cruiserweight stuff being on Raw, Purple Ropes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is also a good thing on it, because it wasn't just that this happened where Mustafa Ali was on SmackDown on it. And that would
Yeah.
add to some other things, because if they have stuff on SmackDown as well and people can work both shows, that adds to them. And hell, it can even add to some storylines for 205 Live. Like, for instance, one of the big plot points with Cedric Alexander was he lost 35 pounds to enter the Cruiserweight Classic. And we've had things with a plot point that Buddy Murphy also lost a lot of weight. So if you have these great shows, why don't you have stuff like, say, Baron Corbin or whoever takes over for him after some TLC, or Paige going to 205 Live and say, you're a really good wrestler. I noticed you've had some problems with cutting weight. Maybe you should sign with us, and then you can bulk up to your normal weight, and then you'd be awesome. And make it actually a plot point that the top could bulk up and join the heavyweight division.
This kind of ties into the earlier in the week, the how hard is it to write?
Mm-hmm.
5+ hours, 52 weeks, 5+ hours a day, 52 weeks a year. Like, it ties into some things are really kind of easy that benefits everybody.
Yeah.
A lot of things aren't.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the little things.
Yeah. Yes. And even then, it just goes with that argument. Yes, there's problems with writing 5 hours of TV a week. But the biggest problem I noticed was like when Jacobs had responded to one person saying, I wrote a 3-hour segment.
Yeah.
All the points on this one, everything completely professional. And he said, great, do it again next week, and next week, and next week, and then you'll see. And then
do it for 50 weeks out of the year, 52 weeks out of the year.
Yeah. And then my response on that one would be, I'm a very talented fantasy booker. I'm the greatest Extreme Warfare Revenge player on the planet. And I have some skills with professional writing projects that I do on this one.
No overhype here or anything.
Yeah. I am absolutely capable of writing a show like this 52 weeks a year on this one. I'm not going to say I'm better than Vince McMahon, because anyone who's seen my fantasy booking knows that I'm batshit insane. I am absolutely saying I am absolutely capable of doing that, and that's the whole difference. So
yeah,
you can't.
Anybody, like, let's go bare bones about it.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody can write. Let's just stick to Raw, because that was the subject matter. 3 hours. Anybody can write 3 hours every Monday, 52 weeks out of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody could write that.
Yeah. The bigger issue would be the issue is not write Raw 52 weeks a year. Anyone
the
who
issue is the substance. Like, what are you presenting?
Yeah.
Right.
And even then, the bigger issue would be, okay, you wrote a good episode of Raw. Vince McMahon just ripped it up. You have 3 hours to write it again. And
well, there's also that. Like, and you need to, like, hey, I have a year planned out. Well, I don't like this. I don't like that.
Yeah.
And it's not just a Vince thing. There's so many intangibles of injuries, and like, you have to sometimes literally go with the flow of, okay, well, I had this written for 2 months from now, but now so and so is hurt and is out for a year or 6 months.
Yeah.
Like, it's not as easy as.
And even if you do that, there's the examples like, oh, that's a great storyline you wrote for Matt Hardy. Rewrite it for John Cena, for the example that was there on it. And
True.
So you'd have a lot of different things and that's really the big difference for fantasy booking for them, where people need to realize that you're serving a lot of masters when you're writing as part of a team. You're like, for instance, a lot of the pro writing on mine, some of it, I don't know if it's funny on it. Some of it's not my first choice on it, but I'm writing for other masters. So I have to say, okay, this is what you want. That's what I'll do. That's how it goes.
See, you get that. What a lot of people don't get about fantasy booking is the word fantasy.
Yeah. And that's really the problem on it, where sometimes it is, from examples for it, everybody who tries to do realistic fantasy booking basically goes down to, okay, I'm going to promote all the really good mid-carders in WWE and make them win the world title and be in the main event. And then I'm going to promote all the really good people from NXT and have them join the mid-card on it. And then I'm going to promote all the really good indie darlings and make them do it. And it's basically the same thing everybody's doing. It's all boring. And eventually
And they don't see the end game of okay, promote, and well, if you're promoting, and you realize what you're doing is the exact same thing what's happening now of people have to move down the card for them to move up the card.
Yeah.
People have to be in catering if you want this to happen.
Yeah, and that's really the big problem on it, where it's the same thing that killed this New Blood versus the Millionaires Club. In 2000, everybody wanted a new blood to rise up, but the only problem is that the older blood said, no, we don't want to move down the card. We're not going to put these people over. And by the way, we have creative control, so you can't make me.
Yeah. Well, we'll just sit at home and...
Yep, and when they sit at home, they can say, nope, you don't have anybody to put these guys over and make them stars anymore. So you either make us the stars or screw you. You lose everything. And that's right. And that really ties to the whole problem, where if you do it, eventually if you just keep going with the fantasy booking and you do, okay, everybody has these people they want to be stars and these things and these things, eventually it goes to, you have to do my fantasy booking now, or else you hate money, you hate fans, and you hate me personally.
Yeah. And at the same time, they don't realize their fantasy booking, again, fantasy, and it all can't happen. Like there's... do you want the championship to change literally every week?
Mm-hmm.
Like how?
Yeah, and it's even more than that. It just goes to the fact where, at the end of the day, if you're fantasy booking, you're doing the same thing Vince McMahon is, basically. The only difference is Vince McMahon runs WWE and you run this one, but you're both basically saying, this is my playpen, it's my toys. I'm going to use this person, this person, this person. This person's going to win. And if I don't like this person, I'm going to get rid of this toy and go through with it. No different than what Vince McMahon's doing.
Right. Exactly. Mm-hmm. But the fantasy bookers, and this is no offense to you because you are a fantasy booker, but you're actually, like you said, I kind of discredited you earlier. You're actually really good at it.
Yeah. And it does go with the fact that a big thing on mine is that I know I'm good at it for the simple reason that I know my stuff can't work. Like, I'm perfectly aware that you're probably not going to see No Way Jose win the Universal title on this one. But I could look at it and say, okay, I think it's a challenge. I'm going to see if I'm going to make this guy a star. And that would be an example of it. It would be good, and I know it wouldn't be good to see it on TV, but I welcome the challenge, and I'd like to see if I could do it. And that's what fantasy booking has to be like as well.
And this kind of ties into where words, phrases, whatever has been lost in translation through the years of, like, you're old school fantasy booker.
Mm-hmm.
And just like the reply to Jimmy Jacobs, well, I booked this, one show, and like there's a disconnect of, like, okay, you're willing to go with it, and you could do it for 52 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Will it work or not? Who the hell knows?
Yeah, and if it doesn't work, that's also the case where if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, that's what part of writing for a team is. If my thing doesn't work, maybe someone else on the teams would. And maybe
you have the foresight, the forethought to think things through. Where what I'm seeing on Twitter and stuff, a lot of people don't.
Yeah. And that really is the case where part of working for a team, and this is what Jacobs and the people doing this didn't really say, is that you have to serve other masters. You can't just do what you want. You have to be able to team up with people and ally with stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
it's not just who the best, most talented is, but how well they can click in a unit for it.
Yeah, it's not just like, oh my god, my favorite's got to win. Like, that's not how it works.
Yes. Unless
That
you're
was my bad SK impression for the night.
Mm-hmm.
And we got completely sidetracked.
Don't worry.
And
Your SK impression will get better. Just take Peter Griffin and get more whiny.
And getting sidetracked is kind of par for the course on this podcast.
Yeah. And it works to get sidetracked because after that one, you have almost no matches to talk of. You have New Day hosting a rap battle between the Usos and the Bar. And
I shamey.
Too cold. Scorpio. And then you go straight through there. You have Asuka admitting Charlotte was ready because she stopped kicking and Asuka won't. And then Miz having his relationship with his new child, the Best in the World trophy. And then completely they
wait a minute. Was that undertoned?
What?
Well, because you have such
deadpan
flying sarcasm. The his new child, was that a Shane reference, or was that his actual baby reference?
Not sure.
Okay. Either one works, but
and then you have Shane McMahon and the Miz go through, and after Miz begs for Shane to talk to him and begs to be his partner, you have Shane McMahon not really happy, but then they get a Vegas guy named Chad, and the Miz gets to beat him, and so the Miz is happy. Because obviously the Miz is going into becoming a nice guy.
Oh, what the?
And that just goes with the weird thing on it, where it seems like they're having Daniel Bryan and the Miz switch shows where Daniel Bryan becomes a top heel and the Miz becomes Shane McMahon's lapdog.
My problem here is, why the fuck is Shane McMahon in a storyline right now, in this storyline or any storyline?
Hey,
well, clearly he's giving.
World. He deserves to be in storylines,
and he's giving Miz the rub. I mean, he's letting the Miz team with the man who is the best in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I get that in kayfabe, but what the?
Well, honestly, it did make sense on this one afterwards, where the two jobbers did invoice Paige for $5,000 that Miz promised them, and Paige threw them out, and this at least made sense in kayfabe for all the people whining. But you didn't put Naomi Mandy on. Didn't you see their social media war? You're a bad GM. Fire Paige for this. We don't care that you strikes on this one. You need to fire this person for not giving us this match. And the obvious is simple.
Diva's Twitter went off on Paige.
Mm-hmm. Their tea was definitely cold tonight on that. So
yes, they went off on.
And it's
wow.
Yeah,
like there's some like it's still real to me, damn it. And then there's like holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, so you really think Paige runs the show and calls the shots, and like, oh wow, you're that guy. So mute, block.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Unfollow.
And even then, if you saw that segment, it would make perfect sense. It just says, wait a minute, I would have loved to have Naomi fight Mandy tonight, but unfortunately, The Miz made a Shane McMahon match for the show, and Paige doesn't have the power in kayfabe to cancel a Shane McMahon match, so suddenly that match had to be dropped. And then it's perfectly reasonable. It wasn't Paige's fault. She just couldn't her hands were tied. Shane McMahon had a match. She couldn't do anything about it.
Where were you on Twitter Tuesday?
Well, that was
good grief.
Well, that's really the problem on it, where at least it tells you who the marks are from who the smarks are.
Oh yeah, like that's an instant. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because
the distinguishing factor, like, okay, you're not always, you don't always have like great opinions, but I can tolerate you to, holy fuck, nope.
Yeah.
Mute.
Yeah, because really, if you really think Paige has power in the show to make and not make matches, you're a mark. Simple as that.
But at least it's still real to you, damn it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And that kind of works, like, and that's why, like, I think there's only, like, I've only blocked one person on Twitter, maybe two.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I might be up to three. Two being the Roman leukemia thing, and then, oh, it's a work. Like, fuck you. Like, fuck you. And then
yeah, I'm not sure which was worse for the Roman on Twitter stuff, for people who thought that leukemia was work, or after the Enzo Amore situation said, wow, they fired Enzo? Great, let's get Roman Reigns accused of rape. Yeah, fuck.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I didn't see any of that.
Yeah,
Who the fuck do you follow that said that shit?
There was a thing going around that said, they fired Enzo Amore for his rape charges. Great, someone accused Roman Reigns, and yeah.
I see what I didn't see any of that, but I see what you're saying. Like, to get him fired.
Yeah, and that was yeah. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. You're cool. Fuck you.
Nice have reference.
Yep. And then from there we have Randy Orton for a chair and grabbing a chair to go after Rey Mysterio, and that was basically just an excuse for, oh shit, we need a chairs match. Let's throw this match on the card. Because of course people buy TLC for the chairs match.
No, they buy TLC for the stairs match.
Mm-hmm.
We need stairs.
Yeah, they had the stairs match a couple years ago, so tables, ladders, chairs, stairs. Well, Daniel Bryan's in one of the things, so now you have bears.
And let's not forget the WLC.
Mm-hmm. But then from there,
I wish I could forget that.
Honestly, I'll say it: the WLC was a good match for what it was. If you don't expect
for what it was, yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was kind of joking with that line. I don't think I actually saw that match. I was sort of trying to do like a sort of deadpan 1,000-yard stare type voice.
Yeah, but it does work on that one, where if they had more of the WLC things, if they had some more minis, it would be perfectly acceptable. So
yeah.
And then they go to Becky Lynch talking about the Asuka and Charlotte destroying each other. And then we go to a tag team for Samoa Joe and Shinsuke Nakamura versus Jeff Hardy, Rusev, and R-Truth and Carmella show up for a dance break.
No, that is Rusev.
Mm-hmm. I know. I am extreme. But it did work on this one, where it just was what it was, and expanded 2 cards and just handles itself. So, is what it is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This is one of those segments where they got it all out of the way at once.
Yep. And that's perfectly fine when you have 2 hours of TV because it's only 5 hours of TV. You don't have enough time for everything. So,
Yeah.
and then it just goes to more setups for the Lars Sullivan video, more setups for Brian Styles, and the main event of Asuka Charlotte. And at least you have more of it where this time Charlotte gets the DQ loss, so Asuka technically got her win back, but didn't really. And
But
then,
she at least gets to stand tall at the end of the show. So
yeah. But this
You got
is
that
a
going
home
for
show, so unwritten rule is you stand tall at the end of the show, you're totally losing.
crap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a fallacy.
Mm-hmm. So it goes to the TLC pay-per-view predictions, and before that one, that also has the other promotions big one of Final Battle. And we may remember with Final Battle, this is a very big thing, as it's not WWE. It's not. It's something that's the plucky young fighters trying to go after them. We're ignoring that they have most of New Japan's roster and that it's run by Sinclair.
So they're gonna have like a segment in the middle of the show where they basically read some sort of statement about fake news.
Possibly, though I think it would work since it is Sinclair Broadcasting's show, so there might be more things. But I think that WWE is the one that's affiliated with Trump, so there's a
Fair enough.
yeah.
Well, explicitly affiliated.
Yeah. And so we have plans for this one. You have Kenny King facing Eli Isom in a singles match. And so that could go either way, but just goes with the case where if this is Ring of Honor's main event or some Ring of Honor's WrestleMania and there's people that aren't that well known, then it says something on Ring of Honor as well. That seems like I don't know who's winning that.
Well, Kenny King, I think he might have wrestled in. He was on Tough Enough.
Yeah.
And he was also
who Kenny King was, but I've never heard of this Eli Isom guy, so.
Yeah, neither have I.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll go, if we're doing predictions, I'll go Kenny King here. And you're right. Like, that's. Remember when Ring of Honor used to be good? Like, have to watch or, somebody else watching and recorded and you had to see the. Yeah, they're not.
And Tuesdays at midnight, Channel 48. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. Yeah, back before Evolve took the role of this is where all the good wrestlers who have a hope of getting to WWE would go. Now Ring of Honor is basically, if you want to go to New Japan, you go to Ring of Honor, but otherwise don't bother, or else you could risk losing your chance at WWE. Then you have the Women of Honor match, or what, yawn. Sumi Sakai versus Madison Rain versus Karen Q versus Kelly Klein. And I'd assume this is probably where Kelly Klein wins the big one, because it's kind of surprising that Sakai is still the champion there. So,
please, for the love of everything holy, get the women, get it off Sakai, please.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's basically the problem, where you're seeing that Women of Honor is really bad because the top women in the company on the indie scene will go to WWE. And if they can't go to WWE, they'll go to Impact. And if they can't go to Impact, they'll go to Lucha Underground. And if they can't go to Lucha Underground, maybe they'll go to MLW. And if they can't go to MLW, well, Chikara actually probably has a better nibble at the top indie women than even Ring of Honor would. So there's still
sad.
Yeah.
The Shimmer would, like, that's.
Well, you can work Shimmer and everywhere else because they only work like 1 or 2 shows here. So
I know. That was kind of my half-assed joke of a joke.
Yeah. You have Matt Taven fighting Dalton Castle, which is just a very good plan for a match to build up on this one. And the fact it's Matt Taven in a big match is just so sad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, Taven's a good worker, but if Matt Taven's the best guy you have on this one, that's just something's wrong there. I'm assuming Taven's going to win because it looks like he's going to be a Ring of Honor champion in 2019, so makes sense there.
I want to pick Castle here, but
Mm-hmm.
it looks like it's Taven's to lose.
Yeah.
And we've gone from the WOH to ROH. Like, how fucking bad is Ring of Honor now?
Yeah. Well, that's really the problem because Ring of Honor basically got hobbled by the fact that WWE flat out said, if you want to work with WWE, you go to Evolve and don't go to Ring of Honor in 2015. And so Ring of Honor's basically been propped up by the fact that New Japan's willing to work with them and say that, yeah, if you want to go to New Japan, work with Ring of Honor and it'll help you get there. And even then, it took New Japan sending New Japan top guys and the fact that Bullet Club was a force of nature for Ring of Honor to stay relevant. Which brings up to the Ring of Honor World title as Jay Lethal faces Cody. And again, on paper, this should be get the belt back on Cody on this one, but with the All Elite Wrestling things, it's Lethal's to lose.
Yeah, Lethal has to retain here.
Yeah. And even then, it's kind of moot because of the fact that Lethal's just not an exciting Ring of Honor World Champion anymore. He's lost his fizz. He's just stayed in Ring of Honor long enough that he doesn't really matter anymore. It's the same as like Briscoe's had.
Exactly. You remember, just not too long ago, holy shit, Jay Lethal is the Ring of Honor champion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hell yeah. And now it's well, he has to retain here.
Yeah. That's really the case for most indie promotions, where sometimes you just have to have the top names graduate, or else they're going to get meh on it. And Lethal, he just lasted a little too long in Ring of Honor. That's a good thing for people like Kevin Owens, where he left for WWE just as he was starting to get a little stale in Ring of Honor, and so he was able to stay a big star there.
Yeah.
And then you have the television title with Jeff Cobb and Adam Page, and same thing as the other one. Adam Page probably should be a television champion, but if he's Bullet Club, you can't really say that it's not going to be Jeff Cobb winning on that one, because you don't know what they're going to be doing on January 5th.
Well, you got to consider, a few months ago, Jeff Cobb actually had his heart ripped out of his chest with the gauntlet.
Yeah, but Jeff Cobb's a warrior. He's not gonna miss time like Finn Balor or Alexa Bliss or Mandy Rose did. You can rip his heart out of his chest, and he'll be right back in Ring of Honor fighting.
Yeah. So that means Adam Page,
mm-hmm.
You will be the next trip to the eye. Wait.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah.
That voice is hell on the throat.
Yeah, that's why most of the top wrestlers vape instead of smoke. So.
Well, I don't even smoke. I just.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm not saying anything on what I do on these ones, but my crack things are not going there. So. Jonathan Gresham facing Zack Sabre Jr. in a singles match, and that's one of those where it doesn't matter who wins, that's just going to be really good, so who cares?
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Just enjoy the match.
Yeah. It could get Gresham a big win, and he probably should, but if Sabre Jr. wins on it, doesn't matter because, again, that's going to be good. You have Bully Ray facing Flip Gordon in an I Quit match, so I could see this one going Gordon's way because he's proven to be one of the hottest prospects across the world right now. So he could be able to make it there.
Yeah, I'm going Flip here. How, I don't know, but Flip's got to. If he doesn't win this and you put Bully Ray over Flip in an I Quit match, this ties back into your fantasy booking wrong.
Yeah, this is definitely the kind of match where like you have the potential to like this has the potential to be like Flip Gordon's this is where he could make a name for himself.
Yeah.
By
Ray's the type of guy who'll absolutely let him make a name for himself.
Yeah.
So it's not like they go through there. So
right. Like I think the technical term for this is doing the honors.
Yeah. And then on doing the honors matches where you don't know what's going to happen, another one of the we don't know where these guys are going to be on January 5th matches with Christopher Daniels and Marty Scurll for #1 contender of the world title. And again, same problem where SoCal Uncensored's been rumored to going, the Elite's been rumored to going, so where are they going to be either way? It's likely that whoever wins this is losing on the Fallout TV tapings, which have already announced Tracy Williams, Zack Sabre Jr., PJ Black, Juice Robinson, and Roosh versus TK O'Ryan. So there's some plans for those ones. And you've got Ladder War 7 for the World Tag Team title. SoCal Uncensored, the Briscoes, and the Young Bucks. Again, it shouldn't be it should be SoCal or the Young Bucks, but because of the fact we don't know where they're going to be on January 5th, the Briscoes to lose.
Yeah, it does seem like it would be a fairly likely turn of events there.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
that's how I'm leaning.
Yeah, this is probably going to be the one. Probably going to be the problem because Final Battle would be much better if it wasn't for the All Elite Wrestling rumors swirling on it. So
I can definitely see where you're coming from with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this ties back into earlier of I watch wrestling, but I don't keep up with it online, which is kind of hard if you're watching a Ring of Honor pay-per-view. You're pretty much keeping up with wrestling online.
Yeah. Ring of Honor was basically built around so you keep up. You're an online fan if you like this promotion.
Yes.
It's a part of the show is wanting to chill with a 14-year-old boy.
Wow.
I was not expecting that.
Yes. But it does go with this one where with that hanging over its head, you don't know what's going to happen for Ring of Honor on January 5th, so you don't really know what's going to go on at this show, and it's kind of weak. It's like the last few 2001 pay-per-views for WCW or ECW where you knew this is probably going to be one of the last gasps, but you don't know that yet.
Right.
Right, and it could go the opposite way of regardless of outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody's going to put on a show, and it's going to be a fantastic show.
Yep. And so you have at least the fact that it's probably going to be a good show, which ties into TLC this week's for it.
Oh. Okay. Put you to test real quick. How does a good time? You have the floor.
Well,
possibly
where
go
they're
ahead.
going to have a half a good show on this card, but then you have the Raw half. So going into this card, you have first off the mixed match challenge finals of Fabulous Truth and Mahalisha the winning members of these teams get the trip to anywhere they want in the world. Plus, more importantly, they get the number 30 spot in their Royal Rumble match. And like we were talking about before this one, it was kind of weird because Jinder Mahal seems like a good number 30 for the men's Royal Rumble, but I could buy R-Truth getting it solely because it would be funny when R-Truth says, "Where are you? You got a trip anywhere in the world." "I know, right? I got a trip to this city. It's awesome." This is where SmackDown is. My bad. That one's on me.
I could see R-Truth showing up to the women's Royal Rumble. Like, no, I earned 30.
I think they already did that joke where he thought that one, so.
Oh, well, you underestimate the repetitiveness of what.
Yeah, and they've already done the segment of R-Truth grabs a ladder and tries to climb it because he thinks it's Money in the Bank, so.
SummerSlam 2016. Never forget.
Mm-hmm. But though it would probably be good on this one where Jinder and Alicia's number 30 makes some sense, but you got to give it to Fabulous Truth here just for how good R-Truth's proven he's been. Let the record show that this time 6 months ago, Carmella was despised by the fans. They wanted her dead because she wasn't good enough to be champion.
Not all fans.
Throwaway line by R-Truth. And within 3 weeks, she's one of the biggest faces in the company. That
not all fans, sir.
Talent. And what were you saying?
I said not all fans, sir.
Yeah. Well, there were some fans who liked Carmella, but by and large, Carmella was hated for running as the champion on this one. One throwaway line by R-Truth saying, "I'm going to pin Carmella to get my shot at Shinsuke Nakamura." And suddenly, Carmella's a babyface and a big babyface a few years later. And that's just proof that whether or not he's been booked poorly or not, Ron Killings is a fucking treasure.
He really is.
Yeah, if that's not a known fact, I'm sorry that you're not up to date if that's not a known.
Yeah.
But I've said this once it was announced that, hey, the winners of the Mixed Match Challenge will be respectively number 30 in their Royal Rumbles. I still think, like, okay, one, if not both, will put that number 30 up in a match and lose it before we get to Royal Rumble.
Yeah, and that really does help on this one because, again, of all four of the people, I could buy Carmella being a good number 30 in the Women's Rumble. I could buy Jinder Mahal being a good number 30 in the Men's Rumble. But I can't buy Alicia Fox or R-Truth at number 30 in either Rumble. Unless R-Truth says, "Oh no, I got the best spot on this one. See, I got number 1. That means I'm last in the Rumble."
Right, like it's a countdown instead of a count up.
Yeah.
Right. And isn't there something they brought up in like one of those run-ups, like in one of those promotions leading up to the Rumble where the sweet spot number is like number 26 or something?
27.
27.
Yeah.
But I think that by now, enough equal amount of people won at number 1 than at number 27, so.
Right. So I know that at one point you had about as good a chance of winning at number 1 as you did in number 30.
Yeah.
And they've even done matches of, like, this is like a rehash, but 7-year rule. Mm-hmm. They've done this, I'm guaranteed number 30. Well, I'll put my number 30 up on the line just because I don't like you and I want to beat your ass. And oops, I lost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just so shocked that even in those matches, you haven't seen something like, "Oh, you're number 1? Nope, I'm not giving you the satisfaction. I'm going to make you go in at number 2. That way you have to go wire to win the Rumble, and you won't even get the satisfaction of being in the amount of legends like Shawn Michaels and Shawn Michaels, who went wire to wire to win it all. That just seems like something a heel GM would love to do, and yet they don't do it.
Yeah, if you anyone who seems to remember 2004, there was no Royal Rumble that year. Everyone was on vacation.
Yes, lunch was served. It was great. No, we have never been at war with East Asia. Though I will say WrestleMania that year where Steven Richards won the big one was a great moment for a great deserving wrestler.
It really was.
Mm-hmm. So you have the Intercontinental Championship with Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, and it should be a good one, but I'm thinking it's going to be Ambrose because this feud isn't over after this. That just seems like it's going.
It can't be over. Not after everything that's happened. Like not after what's been said and done. It can't end with just one match.
Yeah.
Ambrose wins here. The most fucked up part about it is like pretty much every other match on the card has a T, an L, a C, or all combined, except this one.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I'm sure they're gonna
quote unquote like blood feud. I hate you, blah. Like, and this is just a regular match.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure they're gonna have some sort of hook to this. I'm sure.
Oh well, yeah, but just there's no going into like, oh, this is gonna be brutal. This is TLC. Like, this is literally on Raw side of like their hatred feud, and it's just a regular match.
Yep. Well, honestly, this is one where it's going to be a regular match, but I could see it going further just because it's Rollins and Ambrose. They're going to probably be more brutal than any other match on the card. So
definitely, but I mean, if you're trying to sell TLC and you're trying to sell this Ambrose Rollins feud, any stipulation like stairs or street fight or no holds barred or like any stipulation.
If Dean Ambrose wins, then Ambrose has to give Seth Rollins a vaccine, because I think when Rollins countered Ambrose's shots to help from the crowd, I think Rollins may have said he was an anti-vaxxer there. So then you get the match that we still aren't sure might happen, but if it did, it would really tie all of Raw together. Braun Strowman versus Baron Corbin in a TLC match. If Strowman wins, he receives a Universal Championship match at the Royal Rumble, and Corbin loses his job. If Corbin wins, he gets full-time general manager position. And this was, again, the reason that Raw sucked the last few weeks is it would have been much better if we knew for a fact Strowman's cleared for Sunday. If he was, then who cares what Corbin's doing? Strowman's going to kick his ass, and then we're free of it. But if we don't know Strowman's going to wrestle, then suddenly there's that chance that, oh shit, Corbin could be in charge for good, and then it's going to really suck. So
I'll go into detail on my prediction a little bit. One of two things happens. Either it's a very quick Braun does show up, the referee's counting, like, count out, win by disqualification, whatever. And Braun does show up, a quick power slam win, or Braun does come out right at the beginning, but elbows hurting, just recuperating from surgery. And like an hour ago when I brought this up, Kurt comes out.
Yeah, and that's really the question mark, because it's not just even if there's a no-win situation as well, because if with Brock Lesnar, that he probably got okay, if you're coming back, you get to pick who you're fighting. And so he's probably said, okay, I get Strowman, and that's the match. But if he's injured, we don't know if they'd say, do you want someone else? And he said, nope, Strowman.
Yeah,
I
like
mean, if Strowman
Royal
can't make
Rumble, Royal Rumble, the Universal Championship is going to be Brock Lesnar versus Braun Strowman. It's
Yeah.
just how do we get there?
right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the way I see it,
And how do we, because there's two things on the line, Braun's Universal Championship match at Royal Rumble and Baron Corbin. How can we squash both those bugs at once?
Yeah.
And plus, then it also, because this has been rumored for a long time, Baron versus Kurt somewhere down the line.
Yeah.
Kurt cost Corbin somehow at TLC, and Kurt or Baron whines to Steph like, "No, I didn't lose. That's not fair." And so we get a Kurt Corbin thing. Hopefully, not all the way into WrestleMania. Maybe Royal Rumble, Fastlane, whatever.
Roadblock.
Yep.
Road stop.
Yep.
Dead end.
Yeah.
Dead.
Coming up, we get Ronda Rousey versus Nia Jax for the Raw Women's Championship, aka thus. And this is one of those matches which is just a problem where you're expecting in just 1 year you're expecting Ronda Rousey to carry this match to something good, and that should tell you how well Ronda Rousey's taken to wrestling.
Good luck with that.
Mm-hmm. But it is a plus there on this one where it's just monster versus underdog, and yeah, go with it. Rousey's clearly winning, so who cares?
Okay, wait a minute. What question? You say monster versus underdog. Who's the fucking underdog here?
Well, in
The
defense,
baddest woman on the planet or Nia Jax?
the person who is literally twice Rousey's size. And remember, Rousey was the baddest woman on the planet, but she was in sports where weight classes were very big deals. So you can at least hint that Nia's a monster that Rousey's never faced before, as well as the fact that Rousey
Well,
can't.
they literally did this match a few months ago.
Yeah, but they didn't give a clean finish. Remember, so
Yeah. Are you calling Nia an? She's an underdog, like in everybody's opinions, but just and looking at the match, are you calling Nia an underdog?
no, I'm calling Ronda the underdog. There's
Okay, that's even worse.
Yeah. But that's really the part of it where Ronda's an underdog like Hulk Hogan was an underdog at WrestleMania 3. Yes, Hogan's the 4-year champion, and he's one of the best in the world in kayfabe at this one. But come on, he's fighting Andre the Giant. Do you really think you can? And that's basically what this match would be like.
I get the analogy. I don't really like it. But yeah, and that's just bad state of where they are currently.
Yeah. And that's really the problem on it where, again, this is the one difference that makes Nia Jax at least have some value as opposed to Tamina in this case where, yeah, Nia Jax isn't a very good wrestler and she's got some problems, but she's twice or 3 times most of the women's size, and there's always going to be value in can this plucky baby face overcome someone this big? So there's always going to be
wow. You said plucky baby face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there will always be some value for Nia Jax in the show. So even if she's not very good, you can at least use her effectively. Mm-hmm. Whether
She
you
serves a purpose.
yeah. Yeah, and serving a purpose is really all you can ask. So you probably wouldn't prefer it, and you'd probably prefer that she learns how to wrestle a bit more, but at least she serves a purpose, and at least there's been plenty of big, lumbering, talentless Haas's who were just there because they were really big people in the men's division. So it's almost equal to have a big, lumbering, talentless Haas in the women's division.
It's at least better than Tamina, right?
Yeah. Because
Right.
really, even with Tamina, it was
Absolute
just,
zero. Like this is.
Yeah, Tamina was a monster in the same way that Beth Phoenix or Molly Holly were monsters, in the fact that they're about the same size as the women. They're some not worse looking than the women, but they're a little bit. They're not a size 0 either, so they look like they're monsters there. Same with Tamina, where the only thing she brought to the table was being 6'2". Then you have the WWE Championship on the line with AJ Styles fighting the new Daniel Bryan.
Is this another no stipulation match?
No stipulation for it, so.
Well,
If AJ Styles,
they hate each other. There's your stipulation.
yeah,
AJ, wear a cup.
yeah.
For the love of God, wear a cup.
Honestly, considering how many of AJ's friends have turned on him this year like that, I think the whole thing would work better if AJ Styles merely said to Wendy, "Honey, I want to get a vasectomy. Would you please let me do this?"
I think he involuntarily got a vasectomy through Shinsuke.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I'd ask him that, but I think he'd just say, "No speak English."
He's been turned on by so many people that I half expect him to say at some point, the only thing sure with AJ Styles is that nothing is for sure.
Mm-hmm. AJ Styles has been turned on by more men in this year that I think he's changed his mind about the gay community.
And that flat Earth thing, that's a different story.
Yeah. Well, we let some Flip Gordon go for being a flat earther, so that's perfectly fine on that.
I haven't let it go. I just didn't bring it up.
Yeah. Daniel Bryan will probably win this one, so he can reveal the new vegan. So it's a vegan title belt, so that works as well.
Yeah, Daniel Bryan wins. I just think it's going to be.
Does he have any weird theories that we should know about?
No.
Besides,
none that we know of, but Bryan seems to be he's totally an anti-vaxxer, you guys.
yeah. Besides, like the anti-vaxxer and the vegan stuff, like depends on what you call weird.
Yeah.
Well, I got no problem with vegans, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't either.
Yeah.
Like, hey, it's not my life, it's yours. Like, you live your life, I live mine, and
yeah.
If it's working for you, then
yeah,
good for you.
It's worse that he's a vegan, he's a loser, he doesn't own a TV, things like that.
Now, I'm perfectly comfortable. One of the places I'm comfortable in is you live your life, you let me live my life, and we're cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not gonna. I might joke here and there about because I love my meat. That came out wrong.
That's what she said.
Yeah, but but hey, if that works for you, it works for you. Mm-hmm. But let me do what I do. Don't try because I eat a steak or something like. Oh, do you like? Knock it off with that nonsense. Like, I'm not preaching to you. Don't preach to me.
Mm-hmm.
We can be friends. We have different views on things.
Yeah, and that's why Daniel Bryan works so well as a heel. It's not just the fact that he's preaching on these ones for it, but the fact that even if you believe what Daniel Bryan's saying, he's still a heel because he's going to say some other thing that you forget on it. Like if you say, oh, you drive an SUV, you're evil. And you say, no, I drive a hybrid. Do you know how hybrids are? You're still using gas, you're evil. I drive an
Right.
electric. Do you know how much problems the batteries are for the Earth? You should use a bike. I drive a bike. Do you know how unsustainable that metal is? You've got legs, use them. I walk everywhere. You're wasting your shoes. You could have given those to a kid in a third world country.
Right. Like
Not-
the kid from the third world country made those shoes.
Yeah. And that really goes to the same thing where it's not just that Daniel Bryan is preaching, it's that he's the type of preacher who says that everything you do, you're somehow wrong because he wants to be better than you. And if you do exactly what Daniel Bryan says, march lockstep, he'll find a way to make sure that Bryan's somehow right and you're still somehow wrong.
Yeah. There's no winning an argument with that.
Yeah. And that's why even if you're an environmentalist, you should hate Daniel Bryan because he's the type of guy who says, oh, you're an environmentalist? What this, and this? And finally you say, you know what? I'm going out. I'm buying the biggest steak I can. I'm buying the biggest SUV I can. I'm spraying aerosol cans right into the ozone layer because I want the Earth to die just to spite your ass. I've dealt with so many of those people going to Green Mountain College, the Harvard of environmental liberal arts colleges. I've dealt with them everywhere I went, and I got sick of it. So I can absolutely see Daniel Bryan as a top face.
I see what you did there.
Mm-hmm. Or top heel, whatever.
Okay, well.
You got Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, and Asuka in a tables, ladders, and chairs match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And we've had tables matches for women, ladder matches for women, chairs matches for women, but never all three of those.
And on SmackDown, we completely skipped over Charlotte versus Asuka.
Yeah. Well, that's because Charlotte versus Asuka was a good match, but it was just straightforward going in it. And we did catch the Charlotte-Asuka match from SmackDown, too. You just forgot. Yeah.
Okay. Again, it's a big birthday for me, so my memory no good. Memory no good.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, honestly, for this one, I don't know who wins on this one. Becky Lynch is the hot hand, but she's just hot enough she should probably win the Rumble, and that would mean losing the title here. Charlotte just turned heel, but I can't see her winning either because she's turned heel. And Asuka could absolutely get the big one here as well.
This is the one match where Royal Rumble next month comes big time into play.
Yeah, because I think that more than likely it's going to be one of Becky or Charlotte wins, the other one gets the Rumble. So
yeah,
and that's
I'll go.
Going to be.
I'll go. Sorry. Go ahead.
Because it actually is going to be interesting. Because if you're a Becky Lynch fan, what do you say? What do you want here? I want Becky Lynch to win this match. But if she does, that basically means Charlotte Flair's winning the Rumble, getting Rousey, and gets the main event. Or I want Becky Lynch to win the Rumble, get the main event with Rousey, but that means Charlotte Flair wins.
Conundrum.
Mm-hmm. And it is a pretty good interest there. I can pretty much say Asuka's not going to win, though it could just to get the title off of this and go into this Rousey stuff, but it seems like one of Becky or Charlotte's winning, the other's winning the Rumble next month.
Joan, who do you think wins this?
Honestly, I feel like it could be I do feel like it could be Becky or Asuka or Charlotte. I honestly don't really know. I didn't see SmackDown this week, but I know that Asuka, like from the sport or from the results, I know that Asuka obviously she stood tall at the end, so she's probably going to lose. But she said that, and she also said at TLC she'll win the title. And Asuka wouldn't lie. I mean,
yeah. Well, it also has the case where it seems like Asuka could win simply because Becky Lynch the fans have basically said, no, you are not turning her heel. And Charlotte Flair doesn't seem like they're finally going to pull the trigger and turn her heel. So I think it could be Asuka winning solely as okay, you didn't accept Becky, you didn't accept Charlotte. Can you please give us Asuka for this?
And it separates the Charlotte and Becky don't really need to fight over a championship kind of thing going into Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Like they can do their own thing at Royal Rumble, and Asuka. I'm not a. Let's see, how do I put this? Because I'm trying to foreshadow not just TLC but Royal Rumble and then WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it is weird, and I think that Asuka probably wins and turns heel here simply because, again, fans won't accept Becky as a heel. They won't accept Charlotte as a heel. From the reactions this week over Naomi Mandy, they probably wouldn't accept Naomi as a heel. But the SmackDown women clearly need a heel. You can make a case right now, the biggest heel on the SmackDown women's side is either the Iconics or one of Absolution. And only one because we don't know if Sonya's turning face or not. So
yeah,
there's definitely a problem with the face heel divide there. Someone has to turn, but I don't know if they'll let anybody on their turn.
And even if you go with Asuka here as a heel, like the fan reaction. Like, finally, we've been waiting for heel Asuka. Finally, just like they did with Becky, and just like sure, it's backfired like time and time again.
Yeah, and that's really the bigger problem. Where it's not just the face heel divide is so bad; it's just that SmackDown badly needs a heel who's in the League of the Faces. They've needed it for 2 years now, but now
definitely.
when they're trying to do that, the fans have said, okay, turn back. Don't you dare. Okay, turn Sean. Don't you dare. Turn Naomi. Don't you fucking dare. Do you want the Iconics or Absolution to be the top faces? No. Then what do? Give us a top heel. Then us. Don't you dare. Well, who the fuck are we supposed to make the top heel then?
Maybe you should have called Nikki Cross up with Sanity.
Don't you dare.
I did see that one thing where she answered the challenge to Becky.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she certainly has a certain intensity on the mic.
Yeah. And she has proven she can give her all in the gimmick. She's good, but again, Sanity have been flailing as well, so they need something more than just that. So.
Oh yeah, and when I said Nikki Cross, I just based on Sanity got called up without her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and she wouldn't be full blown heel, just crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Because right now it basically seems there's too many faces on the division. Becky, Charlotte, Asuka, and Naomi are all the top stars in the division. And even the heels they have would be, you've got the Iconics and Absolution, who should really both be on Raw right now because Raw's where most of the tag teams are anyway. So by process of elimination, that would mean the number one heel on SmackDown, who should stay on SmackDown to be built around, is Zelina Vega. That is just sad.
And they could have done so much, like, and that's where, like, hindsight, like, hey, you remember when the Iconics got called up and they cost Charlotte the championship?
Mm-hmm.
Remember that? Fucking like getting booed and
Mm-hmm.
and now we're to like, oh, it's the and I love the Iconics, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Peyton Royce is my spirit animal.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like, oh, here's the Iconic duo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's also seems to be the problem where, honestly, it just goes to the fact where on SmackDown, there's the face heel divide is just too great, and they need to turn someone heel, but no one will let it happen.
Right, and that's. Are we as fans to blame for that? Obviously, there's
clearly problems for why the SmackDown face heel divide is so bad and why it's SmackDown's women suck so much. See, my tea's gone cold. I wonder why. Got out of bed at all. The morning rain clouds up my window, and I can't see it all. And even if I could, it'd all be gray. But your picture on my wall, it reminds me that it's not so bad. It's not so bad.
Dear Slim, I wrote you, but you still ain't calling.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty much the reason on this one where the SmackDown women are pretty much hindered by the fact that Road Dogg books SmackDown's women to the stands. And with all the problems with Raw on the men's division, the Raw women are booked perfectly. They built a show around Ronda Rousey, but every other woman on the show seems to be important. Every other woman seems like they have their own niche, and there's still a pecking order. You know that Dana Brooke's probably not going to beat Ronda Rousey, but Dana Brooke still seems perfectly important and like a valuable member of the show anyway. You don't need that much. On SmackDown, it's basically, we know you only have one woman. You're ride or die for that woman. You don't care about anything else except what'll make this woman the star. So we're not going to give anyone characters. We're going to put them in generic multi-woman tag matches, and every woman will be in the thick of the title picture to the point they could probably win the title at any show on this. But if everyone's special, then no one's special. And so nobody's going to really stand out from the others. But you'll have your favorite in the title picture.
And that's a whole underlying problem for Raw, SmackDown, men, women.
Mm-hmm.
There is no special.
Mm-hmm. And that's really, really more so on it, where people want them to be a little special, but not special. Because eventually with special, you need to say, okay, this person's winning all the time. They're never losing. If you like someone, they're going to beat them. If you really like them, they're going to beat them twice. And that's what killed Roman Reigns as a top star on it, where they just said, okay, we're going to book him special, but he's going to lose all the time so that your favorites still beat Roman Reigns and you don't feel like they were destroyed.
And even then you get backlash.
Yeah. So you do have to have a pecking order. Right now, SmackDown has the right pecking order, but they have Becky Lynch, and they've made it clear that even if WWE ruins her, they're not going to be able to ruin her. So you have that top woman, so now develop the pecking order. Now give us one of them, and part of it would reveal, okay, you've got to murder one of your darlings. You've got to let WWE turn one of them heel.
And I'll go ahead and say it because I'm sure a couple of listeners are thinking it. Like, heel, face, doesn't matter. Charlotte just bad promo, like bad.
I don't know. She has some problems with her promo, but it's not as bad as like the Seth Rollins problem, where again you have Seth Rollins trying to be the general rallying you to help him lead him to victory, but he just seems like, Mom, Dad, I really need to borrow the car Friday night. I got a date with this one cheerleader on this one. It's my one chance to. You gotta let me do it. No, you can't. I'm gonna go listen to Linkin Park.
Did you just throw Lincoln Parker under the bus?
Linkin Park is basically what. Yes, I did. So, being fair on this one, even you would admit that Linkin Park is, if you had to pick one thing that the whiny wannabe emo kids from from a certain era would be hearing, it would be "Crawling in My Skin."
Holy hell, we went full on SK karaoke.
Yes. But back on this one, you have Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre.
As treasure, sir, just so you know.
Yes. And then Finn Balor, Drew McIntyre in a singles match for it. Is this going to be replacing him with Dolph Ziggler, or are they going with Balor for the match? We don't know if he's sick or what the sickness is, but if they say he'll be fine for Sunday, it could be a question mark. So
I think either way, Drew goes over.
yeah, pretty much. Drew is clearly the next one, but even then, the Raw side is so heel heavy that they might even need to give a face on this one just to make the face some good faces there as well. So
yeah, and I hated saying it, but because I'm a Prince Devitt mark.
yep.
Hey, no shame in being a Prince Devitt mark.
Yeah.
Because Finn Balor is for everyone.
Yes. And Balor is good on this one for a top face on it, simply because he's like Ambrose in there. They're not the guy that everybody wants, but they're the guy everyone can live with. Like, Finn Balor would be a good in the state of Maine for the ranked choice voting, where Balor's probably nobody's first choice as the man, but he's on everybody's top 5. And that's pretty much valuable in this day and age, so.
Plus, he seems like a pretty cool dude, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very. Yeah, he does. He seems like, hey.
Yep, he loves cosplay. He loves equality. He loves putting on good matches. Also blocks.
He loves Lego, so
yeah.
Shit. I wouldn't mind. Like, hey, you want a trip for an hour to put a Lego set together with Finn Balor? Like, fuck yeah, I'm all in.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone at WWE's watching this podcast, put that on eBay. You'll probably get a good amount of money for it.
Yes. Well, you'd probably also have to have a really good Lego set. They'd have to keep it, but
well, obviously,
yeah. But it does seem like something that would go over well. So then you have Elias versus Bobby Lashley in a ladder match with a guitar suspended over the ring, and the first to retrieve it uses it as a weapon.
I brought this up at the very beginning of the pod, and I'll just go ahead and say it before you guys get in, and I'm sorry to okay, fuck the ladder or fuck the guitar on top of the ladder. Like, whoever gets the guitar first. What I would like better is have Leo rush in confined space or something. You have to reach the ladder to find the key or whatever to unlock the cage.
I think we're a little early in the feud for a manager in the cage.
Yeah, well, they do have shark cage sets that they want to sell, so there's a excuse for a shark cage match.
Just hear me out here. Whoever gets to Leo Rush first gets to use him like a fucking baseball bat and beats the shit out of their opponent. Just fucking grab him by the ankles and just start swinging. Because the guitar's going to break.
The tactic of beating a motherfucker with another motherfucker.
You get it. Like let him be the like whoever gets to Leo first gets to beat the other motherfucker with a motherfucker. Like let that be the
No. If you're gonna do that, you got to go further on this one. You just have Lashley and Elias just fight to the back. Nothing happens, and it completely is ignored for most of the night. Then you have the women's match on SmackDown, and suddenly Asuka tries to grab it. Oh, I got the keys. And then she opens up Leo Rush's cage. And now Leo Rush is finally ready for Asuka.
You know what the build up to the Elias versus Bobby Lashley match really needed?
What? It doesn't need any more ass.
Movie where at the end of it they're staring lightning bolts at each other.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, I think that the lightning bolts would probably move to Los Angeles if Elias is right about what Bobby Lashley thinks. So,
well, fair enough.
Yes.
I just want to see one of them like swing Leo like a baseball bat, just beating the shit out of the other one. Just.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of swinging other people with yours as a weapon, you have the Bar, and they're fighting the New Day and the Usos in a triple threat tag team match for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship.
First and foremost, after this, can we please be done with these?
Well, that's really the problem on it, where it's less the fact that they have the tag team ones and more the fact that the SmackDown Tag Team division seems so good, but we saw from Survivor Series how shitty it was. I mean, come on. The Colognes made the cut for the SmackDown Tag Team.
Hey,
there were good.
Sir, that was their one win of the night.
Yeah. But you saw that Raw had teams that didn't even make the cut. And even if they were injured like Breezango, you had good teams that could have been a healthy scratch on the Raw side. The Colognes made the cut. Gallows and Anderson, who basically have a foot on the way to Jacksonville already, made the cut. But yet, it's still Bar, New Day, and Usos because they're the only three teams that matter. Again, it says something where even if you say, okay, the Bar, New Day, Usos, Gallows and Anderson are never used, but people still like them. Oh,
sweet.
Yep. And then it goes for the 5th. Do you really think we can get away with using the Iconics as the 5th team? Because that might be the best 5th team they could have gotten. And that just is the case where these are the only 3 they have, so this is all you get.
Yeah. And you'll get them week in and week out in any combination they can come up with, and let's just please not do that anymore after this.
Yeah. But that's really the problem, where the SmackDown Tag Team division was so good last year, but it was basically it was also still just New Day Usos forever. And it was worse because they had so many good teams that were ready to take that next step.
And you can't. You and I agree, but we can't say all that without injuries and stuff like that coming into play. Going way back to an hour or so ago of the fantasy booking, like, hey, did you not take into account that Rowan's going to be hurt or?
Yeah, because if Rowan wasn't hurt, suddenly you have the Bludgeon Brothers in this mix, and that helps things. But then you still have the problem that Sanity got misused. They're not doing anything.
Right.
Gallows and Anderson barely show up on it, so they're not doing anything. So you could at least have 5 good tag teams right there. So you can do some things. Heck, worst comes to worst, have the Colognes be Andrade Cien Almas's lackeys, like some of the dark matches that house shows are doing. They're still very talented, and you can't say they wouldn't be bad running around.
Right.
So just meh, who cares? We're probably going to get it for a few more months until the shake up and we have some more tag teams on there.
You're an evil man, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Please, no more. I'm so over the Bar, the Usos, New Day. I'm not over any of the tag teams individually. Just
The idea that they're all together in the same.
Yeah. Well, at the very least, it'll be moot because by this time next year, it'll be entirely different, and we'll have the triple.
This time next year, SmackDown's going to be on Fox.
Yeah, but it'll be different because we'll have the triple threat 4-way: the Bar, the New Day, the Usos, and the Undisputed Era.
I don't like you, sir. I don't like you at all.
So going into other things on it, we have the tables match where Natalya with Ruby Riott, who's coming to the ring with Sarah Logan, Liv Morgan, and Jim Neidhart. And this is, again...
You're the worst. You're the worst.
Yes.
You're an ass for that one.
Yes. I know. But that basically goes to... This seems weird because, on the one hand, Natalya's totally winning because it's once you debut a table with her father on it, you know that Riott's totally losing. The only question is if anybody helps her with us one Heart Foundation finisher to go into that one's, but yeah, Ruby's totally losing this match.
I'm on the other mind of that. Ruby is totally winning this match.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'd like Ruby to win the match, but everything about this feud seems like this is Natalya's to lose because it should be where Ruby Riott gets her. We're going further with her, but it just seems like this is the story ends here and it ends with Ruby losing.
Yeah, it does seem like the only logical payoff for, like, once it's gotten to this point, it seems like the only logical payoff is for Natalya to get the win.
And see, but then, this is what's so aggravating. Of what's the point of Ruby doing what Ruby and the squad have been doing, and Natalya won the feud.
Mm-hmm.
Back to square one. Like, if
that goes to
Natalya's already hit her ceiling. Like, she's already gone as far as she can go.
Yeah, I agree there. What you've also got to remember is the Super Showdown factor, where let's say Ruby Riott wins this match. Since Natalya's Ronda Rousey's BFF, and it's likely that Nia Jax is going to be disposed of here, the next step would be Ruby Riott versus Ronda Rousey. But from Super Showdown, we saw the result there. Ronda Rousey broke the arms of all 3 Riott Squad members. We know that Ronda Rousey can beat Ruby Riott on this one alone without breaking a sweat, so where's the fun in that?
Well, they're... Damn pessimist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
yeah.
It does.
But there's... Go ahead.
No, you can go.
There's no sense in logical writing moving forward. I'm going to tell you going over here. Like, no sense.
Yeah. And honestly, that's really the thing on it as well, because there's so many problems where it's like it makes no logical sense for Natalya to win or for Ruby Riott to win, because Ruby Riott...
It makes sense for Ruby to win, actually.
I don't know, because I don't see Ruby Riott by herself as a challenger to Ronda Rousey right now. And Natalya, the fact that Jim Neidhart died has made it so that Natalya's out the window for any feud of, I'm just going to train Ronda Rousey in this feud to work. And it's moot because Ronda's taken to the sport so well, she doesn't need to work with Natalya anymore.
Did they make a stipulation where this is also a number one contenders match?
No, but it's just basically, what do you do if you go? What does each side go from there if they win?
Well, on Ruby's side, I beat Natalya in a tables match. For Natalia's side, like there's really no place you can go. With Ruby's side, there's places you can go with it.
Yeah.
Not only did I disrespect her dead father, but I also kept my promise and I put her through a table and I won the match. There's places you can go going forward.
Yeah, but that's really the point where in a vacuum, it basically would go to, if Natalya wins on it, there's nothing more she can do. She defended her family's honor. That's it. You can go further on it.
Like
with
it
Ruby
ends right
Riott,
then and
though,
there.
It
If Natalya wins, yeah.
Yeah, with Ruby Riott, if she does, the most logical place is, I beat Natalya, I destroyed her, I broke her family, and then the most logical place to go from there is, that pisses off Natalya's friend, and now Ronda's coming after Ruby.
Yeah.
So
Which is fine by me.
Yeah, but that's really the point where it's just 2 months. It's the same as the Nia Jax versus Ronda Rousey match now, where we saw it a few months ago, and not only did Ruby get beaten, she got beaten with all three members of her team getting the arm bar at the same time. So that
Right.
you can't do 3 months and suddenly Ruby Riott's in Ronda Rousey's league just by beating Natalya's worthless ass.
Well, true, but at the same time, like, don't people learn from their mistakes? Like, oh, we did this wrong, or we did, okay, we'll do this differently this time because this is where we fouled up last time, and we were all three literally embarrassed by getting double armbarred.
And if you go with that one, you still have the case of WrestleMania. We know that if this happens, it's just getting Ronda to WrestleMania. So suddenly, if you do that, you basically turn the Riot Squad into Raw's Mook Squad.
True, but maybe I'm just holding out. I don't know how to word it.
To me, on it right now, I think that it's better to hold off on Ruby going after Ronda right now because at the moment,
Ruby goes up here, but let's hold that feud off.
Yeah, at this moment, the only difference between Ruby Riott and Nia Jax is that Nia Jax is a worse wrestler and Ruby Riott used to be Heidi Lovelace, and that's not enough to make her worthy of getting another Ronda match right now.
Yeah, don't instantaneously put, Ruby went over to Natalya, so now she's number one contender for Ronda. Yeah. Like, don't correlate the two all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like, just let Ruby get the win and then, move on without moving on to that degree, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then from the next one, since we went with Super Showdown ones, a rematch of the match that stole the show at Super Showdown is Buddy Murphy takes on Cedric Alexander. And that one just seems like it could go either way. Both guys deserve it, and it's going to be awesome no matter what, so who cares?
The happiest I am about this match is apparently they made the main card again.
Yeah.
They're not on the pre-show.
Yeah, and that worked because, again, they stole the show at Super Showdown, so it deserves to get more time. It's just a question if this is going to lead to them getting main roster time as well, like Mustafa Ali did.
Right.
either way, I could see Buddy Murphy getting the win because he's still very good, and they've scratched the surface on his run so far.
Yep.
So
I'll pick Buddy here,
mhm.
and maybe that leads to a different thing on 205 Live, a different feud.
Yeah. Honestly, it's right now it's at the point where, if anything, 205 Live just needs some more weaponry. So because right now the show's on fire and they could use it, but I don't know where it goes. Maybe you go with Cedric Alexander since Mike Kanellis is on 205 now, but that's pretty much all you can think of.
Yeah, I'll go Buddy here.
Mm-hmm. And then in the last one on this one, you have the chairs match of Rey Mysterio versus Randy Orton, and this just seems like they were desperate to get a chairs match on the card. So
yeah, this is a what how all the different who, what, when, where, how,
yeah,
why, followed by fucks happen, kind of like.
Well, it's Randy Orton. He demanded his match on the card, and you know what happens when Randy Orton demands something? He'll take it to the papers if he has to.
yes,
Don't shake his hand.
mm-hmm. Yep. And this is basically, it's just an excuse to get both guys on the card, and it's an excuse to get a chairs match. So this is the definition of who cares.
This, and I say this in all sincerity, both future Hall of Famers, both of them.
Yeah, they're both great, and I think Randy Orton may be the most underrated wrestler in the world today, but this was just...
Oh, wow. And all of a sudden, we became best friends again.
Yep. Yeah, because Randy Orton, everybody's giving him crap for being bland, but they don't forget that Randy Orton's one of the few guys who's smart enough to realize, if I'm working as a heel, I should be working a less exciting style so that you don't cheer me.
Yes. And there's a lot of times where that, I don't want to say go over, someone's head, or, but he's doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
And to be completely honest, yes, he does do a lot of phoning it in. But at the same time, dude's really, really good.
Yeah. And that's really the thing on it, where even if it's just he phones it in and he does stuff on this one, there's another guy who does that all the time. Shinsuke
Nakamura.
And everybody loves him. Was it basically just... And heck, everybody, even in 2003, was saying, swap Randy Orton and Shinsuke Nakamura and nothing changes.
Thank you.
Well, they're both known for kicking really hard.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But thank you for saying that, because, Shinsuke. Dude, did you watch New Japan back in the day? Because I did, and Shinsuke would phone it in.
Yeah. Heck, Shinsuke's always been notorious for, if he doesn't like it, then it's phoned in. It's not uncommon, because a lot of Japanese wrestlers have that notion, but yeah, Shinsuke was the Japanese Randy Orton for a lot of other reasons besides just being super rookie.
Yes. He
Now I'm imagining...
Shinsuke's so awesome. Randy Orton sucks. Like, have you ever, actually watched all of Shinsuke's New Japan matches? Because what you're saying...
now? I'm imagining Nakamura, cutting a promo in Japanese, with the same cadence that Randy Orton does when he does a promo. Where he emphasizes every other syllable.
Charlotte, is that you?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's basically the second generation cadence, almost.
Ah, okay.
Because it just seems like every second generation superstar emphasizes every syllable.
Or maybe he's just trying to do like maybe he's trying to cut promos in a trochee.
Yeah.
Are we at the point where like people are cutting promos where they're trying not to do Triple H? Like whatever I do not say after every syllable.
Well, you have to understand that saying after every syllable is not what's best for business.
Well, I think it's more the fact that there's just been problems with the cadence on it, and I've always been steadfast that the big problem with the cadence thing, and Randy Orton's earlier work was an example of this one, is if you noticed during the time period, the I talk slow and use big words type of promo that every heel used since Jericho for a good 4 or 5 years works, because if you noticed, it could be very easy for what, use what, big what, words what,
fickle,
Kennedy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just seemed like a lot of these ones are just trying less to emphasize the syllables and just make it so that it's very hard to what their promo. And you can see that's a good thing because people decide to what every promo, so. So it does. Yeah. So it does seem to have a benefit there.
I blame Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I can.
Yeah. Yeah, but even then, I can see it as the problem where Charlotte's delivery has made it so that for an unpopular heel, you can't really what her promos that much. So
because she won't allow it.
Exactly, and that's a pretty shrewd move in itself as well, because the what chant is one of the many chants that just needs to die already.
Oh yeah. I started using that exact term like 30 seconds ago. Like
who are turning 18 next year who have never seen the angle that led to the what promo. You can end it now. That's just when you're dealing with something where incoming college freshmen don't know why you're saying what. Don't say what anymore.
Right.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk on that.
But SK, it's the cool thing to do. Everybody else is doing it.
Mm-hmm. Again, if I can see a porno with someone who doesn't know why you're saying what next year, that's not a good idea for it.
And you know what else a lot of people do? A lot of people subscribe to PewDiePie.
Mm-hmm.
Pulls a dentist, opens up Google. What the hell is PewDiePie?
Mm-hmm.
I envy you.
Yes. You don't know what it is yet, but your kids probably love it. And when you find out what it is, you'll make sure that Morris never sees it. So.
Well, I wasn't literally opening my phone, but now, you assholes.
Yes. But this was basically the week in wrestling, so it's about 3:02 on the East Coast. So that's probably a good sign. Maybe we should.
Did anybody pick the winner of the Shinsuke match?
The Shinsuke match isn't even on the card, so.
Oh yeah, that's right. The missing man.
Yeah. Yeah, how could they let that match not get on the card on Rusev Day of all days?
That's where I was going with earlier. Like, if you put the 205 Live on the main card, put this match on the pre-show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's honestly with the card you have here, you have to put the mixed match challenge finals on the pre-show, but I'd probably say Balor McIntyre is the best pre-show match of these. So,
they're not putting Balor McIntyre on the pre-show.
Mm-hmm.
They better not.
Yeah, But the rest of the card seems pretty strong on it. So the only match on the card that seems pre-show worthy is Ray versus Randy, and they're putting Randy Orton on the pre-show.
The Ray versus Randy, like, yeah, that's where I was going with the, two future Hall of Famers, yada, yada, yada. That's pre-show all written all over it.
Yeah.
Pre-show match.
Yeah. And that's really the problem on it because, again, they're two future Hall of Famers. They're great at what they do, but I have absolutely no interest in that match. And that's what a pre-show match should be.
Yeah. No invested interest. Like, it's going to be a good match. The crowd's filing in.
Mm-hmm.
People are watching on the network or YouTube or, all their pre-show social media stuff. Put that match on.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, that was a great match. I'll subscribe for $9.99 to watch the rest of the show.
Yeah. Heck, it's even a good thing for it because people file in quicker and people watch more of the pre-show. If it's, holy shit, Rey Mysterio and Randy Orton are on there, how good must the rest of this card be?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
With it being in California, Booka, 619. Like, oh, shit, Ray's coming out. Like, fuck your popcorn. Let's go get our seats.
Yeah. And that's the type of thing you'd want from it. So.
Yeah. And I know San Diego and San Jose are very far apart, but same difference.
Yeah, but at the very least, what do you expect them to do? Cheer for Bayley?
You're a mean individual.
Well, at least on it, I will give the fact that it was Bayley's own fault there. I mean, she goes into San Jose trying to make a local T-shirt for it. She loses big and ends up being someone who can never win the big one ever again. That was her fault for wearing a San Jose Sharks-inspired T-shirt.
Shout out to Des Moines for always referring to Bayley as Sasha and friend.
Yes. Well, it's also his fault on it. The moral of the story, friends don't let friends wear San Jose Sharks jerseys or they will become choke artists.
Damn, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Chiefs.
Mm-hmm. Well, at least on that one, they're doing very well even with this loss, but again, it's the Chiefs. They're going to lose their first match anyway, so who cares?
Yeah, they're the AFC version of the Cowboys.
Yes. I can make these jokes on it because I'm a Patriots fan, so I can say yeah, I can gloat because I know we're going to be in the Super Bowl anyway, so who cares?
He's right.
My Texans defense might have a little something to say about your Patriots.
Mm-hmm. They always do, and they always fail.
Hey, try again.
Mm-hmm. But
I'm staying out of this one because my home team, my original home team, they won their. I got to see them win the big one once in my lifetime, so I'm good.
Yeah. But once it goes to football on this one, this is probably a good idea to say this is it for the rest of the week because it's 3:07.
Are you an Eagles fan?
What?
I was asking John, are you an Eagles fan?
Yeah, I'm originally from the Philadelphia area.
Okay. Yep. So you got that going for you.
Yeah. But until next week, this is Whacked Out Wrestling, and hopefully we'll be back for WWE Week, the week where they have every possible cockamamie thing that sticks to the schedule. See ya.
See you later.
Peace.